Yeah, I saw. He kept saying shit about Chuck's good friend over at PPN or whatever. It's so stupid.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now.
Sounds like he's fantasizing a little bit.
Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves. We won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
That's it. That's the music. We got to go. It's time to go now. Got to do it. Sorry.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. No show last night, so we had, I think Mariah's got weather, storm PTSD or something. We had a thunderstorm coming through, and I already got a late start because I was fucking around with some other shit. So she was like, "You need to get home right now." So we didn't do a show last night. Went home, listened to the storm. It did. The river's up. It's not flooding, but the river's up. Plus, a lot of the patches we made to the road were semi temporary. You know, so we were worried about that and shit. So, anyways, that's all taken care of. Got home last night, hung out with them.
McBride just resubscribed for 18 months.
Thank you for the resubscription. And then came back today. There was a video that I wanted to cover last night. I tried to start a little bit earlier. I've got so much shit going on in the background that I can't talk about right now. It's like my capacity to do and talk and be here is just fucking filled up. I feel like I got so much shit going on in my head right now that by the time I get fucking calmed down enough to do a show, it's always late. But we got on decently at a decent time tonight. So the video I wanted to show last night was actually Cenk from the Young Turks in a debate. And a lot of other people have covered it. I just want to watch it, and we'll talk about it, and we'll go through there. A lot of people have been calling him out for his basically blatant support of MAGA. Like he says, well, you know, they're anti-establishment, and I'm glad Trump won because he was the anti-establishment candidate. But literally 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before the election, he was calling them all Nazis. It would be the worst fucking thing to ever happen. You know, if Trump won, all this stupid shit. And it seems like he's pulling a Pierce Morgan, right? I don't think he legitimately flips sides, but I think he knows that there's money there, there's views there. The controversy itself makes views. I think that's part of it. And I think this person, from the clips I've seen, I haven't seen the full video. I think this person, let's see, what was her name? The Bituation Room with Francesca Fiorentini, I think. I think she does a really good job at calling them out about some of the shit that they still don't fucking concede, believe, acknowledge. It's just wild. So we're going to watch some of this debate. We'll watch Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks come on and talk to her. It's not, I mean, it's supposed to be a conversation, but she has some really good jabs she puts in there. First, somebody sent me this, so let's see what this is first. Is this a screenshot? Or is this audio? Will Bird and your followers are the devil. Some of you even faked being Bird's friend just to go to Will's chat and attack him. He's a nice Christian man that needs $3,000 by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. TikTok. Well, now we know what's going on there. I thought that was an audio to play. It looks like it might just be an image, though, a screenshot. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's our secret undercover Burt friend, I think. TikTok. All right, let's check this out. I've got it keyed up to where right where Cenk comes in. I always want to say his name wrong because it starts with a C. I'm not good at it, but here we go.
also express my feelings, but so here he is, Cenk Uygur, for as much as we can squeeze into this blessed hour. Welcome for the first time to the Bitchuation Room.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me on, Franny. And thanks for the intro.
Yeah, man. I gotta say,
Oh, also, before we get started here, there's another clip that kind of involves Cenk that I wanted to show, and I even made a post about this on Twitter. It's such a weird thing to lie about. It's Tim Pool. So if you guys don't remember, when Tim Pool got COVID, from what I remember, he said he got COVID. He went to one doctor and asked for what Joe Rogan had. And specifically, he asked for monoclonal antibodies, right? And he asked for ivermectin. And the doctor wouldn't give him ivermectin, so he went doctor shopping. He literally text messaged Joe or whatever. Joe's like, don't give up on it. I'll hook you up with a guy, blah, blah, blah. That happened, okay? And then the other day when he had Cenk on, he's like, my Wikipedia, this guy Gizmodo or whoever's always editing my Wikipedia page, says that I sought out ivermectin for COVID. That's not true. That's not true. I didn't take ivermectin. I took monoclonal antibodies. But he admits that. Like, this is such a stupid fucking thing to lie about. And he has to know he did this video. I don't understand, other than just drumming up people talking about it, I don't know why to fucking... He made a video specifically that a doctor wouldn't give him ivermectin. He found a different doctor. Now, he does say later on, I felt so good after the monoclonal antibodies that I debated whether I should even take the ivermectin and the Z-Pack. But I called the doctor, and the doctor said absolutely, and he took them. Like, I don't know. This is such a stupid thing to lie about. But here's Destiny going over this, and he's got the clips.
Break, dude. You just heard a moment ago, it is being reported.
So here he is talking to Cenk.
And then sought ivermectin, none of which is true.
All right, here, listen.
What is, like, I'm against crime, but I want police reform. I think that's left, but...
So what Cenk is trying to say is, like, there is no left and right anymore because some people have what they would believe is right beliefs and they believe is left beliefs. I don't believe this at all. I think there's definitely two standards, and one side is way off the fucking deep end, and the other side is, trying to do their best. But Tim Pool equates this to just liars. Everybody's a liar. You want to know why? Because they lie about me. They lie about me on my Wikipedia page. Listen to this. Listen how fucking dumb this lie is.
Some portions of the left say, no, that's not left. No, you have to be, like, pretend crime doesn't exist. I'm like, wait, how is that a left-wing position? That's not really a left-wing position. So my point is, you're right. It's become jumbled. And that's why I talk about it.
It's liars. That's everything. So I'll give you an example.
It's liars. That's everything. So this very nuanced point that Cenk is trying to make about there's people that have these left beliefs, these right beliefs, and they don't really fit this mold of left versus right and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But Tim Pool wants to break it down all the way to it's liars. People just lie.
My Wikipedia says that I denied COVID, got COVID, and then sought ivermectin, none of which is true. I never denied COVID, never sought ivermectin. I got monoclonal antibodies.
Never sought ivermectin. I don't know that he denied COVID. I think he talked about it as if it were the flu or whatever at one point. But he took it pretty serious. But he says that I sought ivermectin, that I took ivermectin. Okay, those are the two big points. My Wikipedia says that I sought ivermectin and I took ivermectin. And these are the liars that are breaking down this political discourse we should be having in America. They're lying.
But Gizmodo fabricated the whole thing.
They called me.
Gizmodo fabricated the whole thing. Now he's going to read the Wikipedia article here.
He's a critic of vaccine mandates in the COVID-19 pandemic, said he was...
Right, Pool was a critic of vaccine mandates. That's true. Said he was unvaccinated. True. And hosted COVID-19 conspiracy theorists. True. In August of 2021, he criticized New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, his COVID-19 vaccine passport mandate, as it did not have any exemptions for immunocompromised people or people with other disabilities. When Pool contracted COVID-19, now I'm just going to read the statement, and we're going to watch what Tim Pool actually says, and you tell me if it's true or not. When Pool contracted COVID-19 in November of that year, he told his audience that he had sought and taken ivermectin, known at the time to be ineffective against the virus, along with monoclonal antibodies, an effective treatment. Okay, so the points here are when he contacted COVID in November, he told his audience that he sought and had taken ivermectin along with monoclonal antibodies. Now, we're going to hear it from his own fucking mouth, and you tell me if this is a lie or not.
Unvaccinated and hosted COVID-19 conspiracy theorists. He criticized the COVID-19 vaccine passport mandate. When Poole contracted COVID-19 in November that year, he told his audience that he had sought and taken ivermectin, known to be ineffective against the virus, along with monoclonal antibodies and effective treatment.
This past week, I have not been producing videos.
All right, so this is his video from 3 years ago, that November, when he got COVID. Now let's see what he says.
Remember that year, he told his audience that he had sought and taken ivermectin, known to be ineffective against the virus, along with monoclonal antibodies and effective treatment.
This past week, I have not been producing videos because I tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday, and I had an extremely serious case. Now, I don't know how far I've ever had with an illness, and I genuinely believe if I did not get the treatments that I got, the kitchen sink, if you know what that is, monoclonal antibodies, I got prescribed ivermectin, I did. Z-Pack and some emergency and
Everything. So I'll give you an example. My Wikipedia says that I denied COVID, got COVID.
Was that not him just saying that he got... Was that not him just saying that I got ivermectin? I did.
In 2016. In 2020, I thought he was too old, but...
Or too... Look at the
Why was from the left? It's not
everything.
Theorists.
And I genuinely believe if I did not get the treatments that I got, the kitchen sink.
And he's not saying just the monoclonal antibodies. He's saying if I didn't get all these treatments, I would have been in the hospital.
That is, monoclonal antibodies.
Got COVID.
Got prescribed ivermectin. I did. And COVID-19.
I tested positive for COVID on Timcast. Let's see. Let's duplicate this.
So welcome to my garage. Here we have the shelves of much junk. We've got the table with the project on it that I haven't touched in 2 years. We've got the giant Alpha Phoenix logo on the wall. But today, I wanted to talk...
What a dumb fucking thing to lie about. This is his video on his channel.
I have not been producing videos because I tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday.
He even says one doctor wouldn't give it to him, so he went to another doctor.
And I had an extreme...
If that's not seeking ivermectin, I don't know what is.
Serious case. Now, I don't know how far it would have gone had I not gotten medical intervention, which I did. I don't make it sound like I wasn't intubated or anything, and I wasn't rushed to the ER or anything like that, but I did have to go and seek treatment, and I received what one would refer to as the kitchen sink. But before I get into all of these details, I want to start with a...
By the way, the reason everybody didn't get monoclonal antibodies is because it's extremely expensive treatment, right? Thousands of dollars.
Special thank you to Joe Rogan, and legitimately, from the bottom of my heart, everyone here are extremely grateful to Joe and his support, and I'll break all this down, but I just wanted to say that right away, because it really does mean a lot. But I'll explain.
He called in a favor from Joe Rogan to get this, by the way.
And I think it's a really important story that people should know about. So on Wednesday, we did a show on Timcast IRL. It was just before the show, we got word that one of our employees here had just tested positive. And we're not 100% sure with these things. I was told by a nurse that these at-home tests are not that good. And I was like, okay, well, look, we got to take this stuff seriously. So you may have noticed that Luke and Ian didn't do the show because, well, for safety reasons, we're going to minimize everything. But, we explained it to our guests and then said, you're basically here. It's up to you to know exactly with what. And it didn't seem like COVID. It was like, here's this, absolutely. And also, if the windows get ventilation, he did a really, really great job. And he has all the protocols. Like, no joke. Like, Luke legit was like, here's what we're going to do, disinfect. We're going to open up the windows, get ventilation. He did a really, really great job. But at the same time, my attitude was, we'll do this, absolutely. And also, let's not be paranoid, because look, colds still exist. There's still illnesses that are out there. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm not going to freak out and act every single time someone gets a headache that we're going to, it's COVID, shut everything down, We can't live that way. We can't. But so we did take it seriously. I was feeling fine. And this is the crazy thing. I was like, I didn't feel sick. I was like, maybe I'm sick. I don't know. I don't think so.
It's almost like that's why this is so scary. It's like, it's extremely contagious, and it can get really bad really quick, especially if you have other contributing factors like overweight, diabetic, elderly, young. Yeah, that's almost like that's why everybody's scared about it.
I just felt fine. That night, Wednesday night, I went to bed and I woke up feverish, drenched in sweat. And so I was like, well, look, the only real symptom I had after I woke up was a headache. And I was like, if I am getting sick and it is COVID, you know, maybe it won't be that bad.
I can always tell when I'm getting sick with basically anything from like a fucking cold to like COVID or whatever. Is I have headaches often, but I have like a different headache. Like it's a different headache, and like the next day I know that I'm gonna probably have a fucking sore throat. Probably be all fucking clogged up and shit.
But I'll just say right now, as we get into all of this, this was the worst experience I've ever had with an illness. And I genuinely believe if I did not get the treatments that I got, the kitchen sink, if you know what that is,
here we are.
Bodies, I got prescribed ivermectin. I did Z-Pak and some emergency and some other emergency, like if you are not breathing stuff. So I truly believe the monoclonal antibodies are what it pulled me out of everything. But I just wanted to make sure that was in the forefront of the video. But I'll explain. I want to go through everything. So, you know, I wake up. It's Thursday. You may have seen the post I made on this channel, my other channel, saying that I had a headache. For the most part, I was going to play it safe. And that was it. I mean, I was drenched in sweat. I was like, wow, I'm sweaty. This is crazy. You know, I didn't feel that sick. And I got a headache. And I was just like, I'm going to have to take a day off, right? And I was like, maybe I'll be fine tomorrow because I don't know how serious it's going to hit me. We skate. I've been skateboarding time. I mean, we're in the half pipe. My heart rate's through the roof. My blood's flowing. I've been eating way better over the past several days. You know, look, I'll probably be fine. So I figure I'll take Thursday off. We'll see how I feel in the morning of Thursday, but still not feeling sick. To Thursday night, I felt like death. I didn't feel like I was dying. No, I'm just feeling like I was like, like it was excruciatingly painful. And so I'm like, take some ibuprofen.
Headache for 2 days. I still, dude. I have a really bad. So the military told us. I don't know if this is true. The military tells us all kinds of shit, but that using tobacco, whether that's smoking or smokeless, like where I used to dip, that it dulls your senses. First of all, it can affect your eyesight. Second of all, it dulls like your taste and your smell. So for years, I've had really, really bad sense of taste and smell. And after I got COVID, I just had a headache. It wasn't different for me than basically anything. I just had a headache. I felt drained. That was about it. I didn't have trouble breathing and shit. But I tested positive like a week after that whole thing. I've not been able to I can hardly smell or taste hardly anything. I can taste better than I can smell, but I can't smell shit.
And I'm going to go to bed, and hopefully when I wake up on Friday, I'm feeling a lot better. And I couldn't sleep at all. That night, it was impossible to sleep. My head started throbbing. My fever went way up. I wasn't coughing, but my body started to hurt. It was pretty bad. And I thought to myself, still not as bad as when it didn't feel as bad as when I had the flu. But let me just say that it was substantially worse not sleeping. And I called I decided to call a local urgent care clinic. And I asked them, look,
so he called it local urgent care.
I don't know what I should do. I know I know a lot about COVID. I'm not a doctor or anything.
So he called the urgent care and said, I know my rights, and I want this, this, and this. That's always a great way to start a relationship with a new doctor. I know everything there is to know about COVID, and I need these things now.
But I've read enough about it, and I'm like, what should I do? And it was a terrible experience. Calling this urgent care facility. It was a bad facility. That's all I can really say, I guess. They were just like, why don't you come in for some tests? And I was like, well, I just took a COVID test and it came out positive. And they were like, well, why don't you come in and we'll take some more tests?
Wait, but you just said earlier in the video that those at-home COVID tests you heard were not very good. So now that they want you to come in and take a test, you're like, no, this is a horrible experience.
And I'm like, for what? I was like, okay, I mean, sure, absolutely, if that's what you think I need. But like, what would we do after this? Like, if the tests just come back and say, that I am positive, like, oh, well, we don't do anything. We don't prescribe anything for this. And I said, okay, so is this like a stay home and get to bed rest kind of thing? And they were like, yeah, it's a virus. And I said, okay. And now I got to keep some of the details for privacy reasons, going through the story, especially the people who are sick and things like that. So I got to be a little vague, but the issue of ivermectin did come up. And as you all know, ivermectin.
So ivermectin just happened to come up when he called urgent care. It just he didn't seek out ivermectin. He didn't take ivermectin in 2024 Temple. But when he called his local urgent care, it just came up. I don't remember who said it. It just came up.
is not approved by the FDA for treating COVID. And so when this came up, I was talking about potential. Is there anything I could take? I mean, would you recommend vitamins? Is there something I don't know? And it was expressed to me by the urgent care that their understanding was that there have been several studies showing ivermectin has helped people in dealing with COVID early on. And I said, and that's what they said. That's what I was told. And then I said, okay, is that something I should get? And they said, the FDA has not approved this for use in treating COVID. And then they just stopped. And I'm like, okay, and like, what does this mean?
We all knew this. That's why if the doctors were prescribing it, they were prescribing it off label, right? Not for COVID. They were prescribing it separate from the issue.
And so I was like, does that mean that, people are asking their doctors for it, like to opt in, and they said, no, they will not prescribe it. And I was like, okay, now here, at this point, look, I've been skeptical on ivermectin. I understand the data. I understand.
So tell me this isn't a video that was rightfully used as a source that he sought out and took ivermectin.
Was it Uygur Pradesh? I think I'm getting the name wrong, in India and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I think the issue with it was that, there are studies that have been positive. There are studies that have been inconclusive. And I think that really is the simple answer. I don't tend to believe in big conspiracy or anything like that, and I still don't. And what I think people are worried about is that if everybody just assumes this is some kind of, they assume it's more effective than it is, then they might forego other potential treatments or
exactly
maybe even ignore their doctors or things like that. And so my attitude is, and now
it's almost like you weren't so goddamn brainwashed back then.
Still is, talk to your doctor. And I'll tell you why, because I did find a different doctor.
So now he's doctor shopping, right? He called one doctor, and doctor said, no. They don't do that. So I called a different doctor, and they're like, I'll give it to you.
I'm feeling miserable.
If this isn't seeking ivermectin, I don't know what seeking ivermectin could be.
And I end up
Again, I don't care that he took it. Take it all you want. I don't give a fuck. It's the weird thing that 3 years later, this is a hill you want to die on, that you never saw ivermectin, you never took ivermectin.
It's getting really, really bad. It got so bad that I just started, I was talking to friends. I'm like, I don't know, man, I'm getting pretty worried. I'm feeling extremely bad. I didn't have like a strong cough. I started getting a cough, and I'm like, it escalated so rapidly that I was concerned that if I didn't do something, like I was on the verge of hospitalization, like emergency room. I'm not saying that at the point I was like, oh no, I better go to the hospital. I was like, if this does get worse at this rate, by the end sicknesses go. In fact, I usually don't get sick. We take everything soon, and we have a cleaning service that comes in, because those friends was Joe Rogan to get sick. I mean, especially with COVID.
Here we go.
You know what? I talked to some friends, and one of those friends was Joe Rogan. I know that Joe Rogan got what I think he referred to as the kitchen sink. He got monoclonal antibodies, he got ivermectin, azithromycin, and I believe he also did NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, with a vitamin drip, and that seemed to me like a lot. But I was also, I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to overreact. I'm not that guy. I'm not the kind of person to do NAD. Joe Rogan is very much that. He talks on his show about this stuff and about like DMT, and I don't do any of that. I don't drink. I don't smoke. No tattoos.
You think NAD is the same as DMT, or even close?
No piercings. I'm not the kind of person who's going to, get these kinds of treatments. And but it got to that
it's
point.
An over-the-counter supplement that some people take before wine tasting, or before drinking wine, so they don't get a wine hangover.
Where I talked to Joe about it. Joe encouraged me not to ignore it. Basically, look, man, you got to take this seriously. COVID is extremely serious, and he encouraged me to talk to find a better doctor, to put it simply. And so I said, okay.
Find a better doctor. That's doctor shopping.
And I was like, I'm not calling Joe for medical advice on what he thinks
it sounds like you did.
The appropriate treatments are. I think that would be silly. But I do think that he received medical advice that made him feel better, and that's what I'm interested in. And so that's what I wanted to talk to him about. And I ended up calling up, looking around, finding a private practice who I talked to them and told them how I was feeling, and they shared the concerns that I actually did too. So this is why I tell people talk to a doctor, because I had a bad experience with one doctor, and they said, sleep it off, have a good day. And then I said, maybe I need to find a better doctor.
NAD is commonly bought literally for people who drink a lot of wine. I can't remember who was talking about this, but they own a winery, and they actually have it there all the time. When they drink a lot of wine, it helps reduce like the hangover shit from wine for some reason.
And I did. And they said, look, if this progresses the way you're explaining it, this could be worrying, and we don't want to see you end up, in the emergency or anything like that. So we want you to get treated. And I also think that for a lot of, I think money drives a lot of this. I don't care if they're a good doctor or a bad doctor. I think they're, it just people, the people on the show, who got treated, and then it turned out to be COVID. So then, Friday afternoon, I banned ivermectin, Z-Pack. I talked to Joe a bit more about it. Told him like, Joe,
here we go.
Give me monoclonal antibodies. They want to give me ivermectin.
So he talked to a doctor, got what he wanted, but he had to call Joe back. Now he's not seeking Joe for medical advice. He did that at a doctor. But then he just wants Joe's opinion on that medical advice.
Z-Pack, and they have some other emergency medications in the event that it goes south. And I got to be completely honest. I did not want to take the ivermectin or the Z-Pack. I genuinely believe, and I said
he didn't want to take the ivermectin or the Z-Pack.
This before when Joe got.
So maybe you're thinking, Will, yeah, he sought it out. Clearly he sought it out by calling multiple doctors and multiple people to reinforce his belief that he needed it. But he didn't take it. Well, no, he did.
That monoclonal antibodies. It's the Regeneron therapy. That's the company. It's what Donald Trump got. It is under emergency use authorization as a treatment for COVID. It's what Ron DeSantis is giving out. And I was like, this to me sounds like legit. And because I'm still trusting, and I'm still skeptical on a lot of things. As much as everybody in the world might be, all the people on one side might be saying ivermectin, other people might be saying something else. I'm like, far be it from me to criticize the wisdom of Don Lemon. I mean, certainly if the doctor prescribed it. No, I'm kidding. So the doctor prescribed it, and so I ended up getting the treatment. And this was on Saturday. Saturday night was the most excruciatingly painful experience I've had of any illness. And I mean this from I got hit the worst out of anybody that we know. And I've heard the horror stories. I talked about them on here, with Alex Jones. No, maybe it wasn't Alex Jones. It might have been. We've had guests on the show talk about how they've had they had it before, and it was a very, very bad experience, and it was terrifying. They went to the hospital and stuff like that. I don't think that was Jones though. But so I got it really, really, really bad to the point where I was like, I will do anything, please help. So anyway, I got the treatment. I ended up receiving immediately.
Yeah, I think even like the emergency, cheaper, shortened version of monoclonal antibody treatment was like $60,000 or something. Is what somebody was saying. Like usually it's if you're on like if you're not doing it for COVID, right? You're on an extended for whatever other reason. The treatments are like usually over $100,000, and they're like long form. Like you come in this month, the next month, the next month, the next month. But even the cheaper version they were trying to use for COVID was like $60,000 or some shit.
Monoclonal antibodies, NAD, that's nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It's like a B vitamin derivative, and I ended up getting a vitamin drip and some painkillers. That night, I was delirious. I was hallucinating. I hadn't slept properly in days. I hadn't eaten in days. I had tried eating soup. I was doing like an emergency, the vitamin drink. And so it was bad. And I was struggling to breathe. I was, and I was like, if this treatment didn't work, I'm in serious, serious trouble. At 4 a.m., that was it. I stood.
But he wanted to say, he wanted to make sure that you knew, I'm not going to Joe for medical advice. I just feel like the medical advice he gave me, I should take to a doctor, and then when the doctor says it, I should take it back to Joe.
What the fuck? And I wasn't sick. I mean, I was sick, but I was just like, what just happened? All of a sudden, I just felt better. The pain started to go off in waves. My balance was back. I was breathing.
But why lie about this now? Like, he felt it important enough to make a 32-minute video about it just 3 years ago, and now he's like, nope. I never sought out ivermectin, never took ivermectin. That's a lie.
Deeply, and I was just like, wow. And
people are lying about me on my Wikipedia page.
Sat down, started binge watching House MD, because I've been watching that for the past several clonal antibodies, the NAD and the vitamins, and I think those all played a significant role. Now, I will stress, in order to get these treatments, I called a doctor. We did a health screening. They explained to me the risk factors. When I was getting the treatment, they checked my lungs. They said my lungs were bad, and but not bad enough that I couldn't get it. I had moderate symptoms, but eligible for the therapy, and it's a good thing I got in when I did. And then Sunday, I was feeling better. I was feeling better, still sick, but feeling better. And so I decided that I still needed some time to recover, and obviously we can't do the shows and stuff like that until everybody is starting to feel better. So I think we should have everything back to normal starting today. But I will say something else. So I talked to my doctor again, saying, hey, look, I feel fantastic. Like, do I really need to take the Z-Pack and the ivermectin? Because I kind of don't want to. And
he didn't want to take it. He didn't want to, but he sought it out and took
said,
it.
Yes, you have to. And I said, okay.
What doctor are you going to call? Have you ever asked your doctor, do I have to take all the antibiotics? Do I have to finish your treatment? Of course they're going to say yes.
Yeah. But now the media is going to start claiming I'm taking horse dewormer or something. I don't want people to think that I'm certainly not encouraging anything.
Well, just wait 3 years and lie about it. It's such a dumb fucking thing to lie about, too. Like, what the fuck?
On Friday, and I had an extremely serious case. Now, I don't know how far I've ever had with an illness, and Z-Pack and some emergency and everything. So I'll give you an example. My Wikipedia says that I denied COVID, got COVID, and then sought ivermectin. None of which is true. Never denied COVID, never sought ivermectin. I got monoclonal antibodies, but Gizmodo fabricated.
Never sought ivermectin.
The whole thing. They called me. I got prescribed ivermectin. I did. Z-Pack and some emergency.
You just lie. You just lie about anything. Nobody will ever hold you accountable. You just lie about whatever you want.
About that.
They called you about me getting ivermectin?
No, they called me about getting COVID from Tim Pool.
Well, so anyway, my point is,
sought, he's using weasel words. He is using weasel words, but he also sought it. He sought ivermectin. He didn't just randomly get...
It was doctor shopping, right? He got turned down. He called his buddy who told him, don't take no for an answer, and he went to other doctors. And then that led me to find this post, which I gotta believe is from like a parody account. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So this post says, it's from Carol Mack, and it says, I cracked one. My most stubborn and sickest family member let me give him this tonight. Hopefully this helps. And it's for oral use and horses only, ivermectin. Ivermectin paste 1.87%. And then it says apple flavored, which I thought was very funny. So then I retweeted it. That's gotta be a parody account, right? I put, if you spread it on a carrot and tie the carrot to a string, you can use it to lead them around wherever you need them to go. I use this trick all the time on my relatives. It's how I got them all to vote this year. So there you go. Ivermectin for the win. This has got to be a parody account, right? Like she posted the box. It says apple flavor, dude. Then they added to this post, for your information, this sickness is different in a lot of ways from the flu. We don't test for COVID in this house. So whatever it is a mystery. That's got to be parody, right? It's so, when it gets so hard to see the difference between real fucking Trump supporters and parody, man, it's so hard. The food pyramid was their first big lie. I've heard Trump supporters say that. And her handle is at Herbs and Dirt. Update on the day after the horse paste that shall go unnamed was given. His fever is gone. Feels like eating and can actually smell and taste today. Chills are gone. Isn't that interesting? No one's claiming they don't make it. I don't know if you thought that was my claim. My claim is posting the box that says she didn't have to post a picture. But she went out of her way to post a picture that says, for oral use and horses only, apple flavored. Shit's wild. Hard to tell. Anyways, back to this debate. I don't know why Tim Pool's lying about a video he made 3 years ago. That's still up. I never sought out ivermectin. You went to multiple doctors and called Joe Rogan to get some support for it. What if that's not seeking out ivermectin? What is? Did to stab a man, kill a horse, and take it from their medicine cabinet? What is seeking out ivermectin? Because that's it.
It's like it's not an understatement to say that I've lost sleep over what's been going on. That I've been really upset, angry, and like wounded, if that makes sense to you. I have also refrained from tweeting at you, Cenk. I've refrained from doing videos about you without your presence. I've refrained from...
By the way, somebody in chat is named Frodo T. Baggins.
...misrepresenting you. But man, on the inside, it's been rough. So I do want to ask you, I feel like we are on the precipice of a really perilous time of true authoritarianism coming to the United States. And someone like you, who has been such a leader on the progressive left, has such a massive role to play in this moment as a stalwart of resistance, as so many of these centrists are kowtowing.
I guess the only argument he can make, Tim Pool, is that I didn't go to Tractor Supply and buy it. I didn't fucking mug a horse and take it, but you definitely sought it out. That is, and what's crazy is the Wikipedia page is being generous. It's saying Tim Pool was a critic of the vaccines. True. He was critical of the vaccine passport in New York. True. He had on people who denied COVID. It doesn't say he denied it. It says he had on people who denied. True. He was just talking about fucking Alex Jones and people, right? And then when he got COVID, he got monoclonal antibodies and ivermectin. He sought those things out because the first doctor he called said no. Then after speaking with Joe Rogan, he found a doctor that's seeking, that's sought out. I don't understand. It'd be one thing if his Wikipedia said he's never admitted ivermectin or that COVID is real and he eats horse paste, but that's not what it says.
Towing to the right. And then I see you on the same stages with and in the same rooms with the right-wingers who are mouthpieces of said authoritarianism. And I don't believe that you are actually pushing back instead. And I think there's a project here. You're trying to find points of agreement. So what are you doing and why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, that you're having me on as opposed to talking about me and raging, et cetera, without actually getting to the full conversation. So, look, first, let me acknowledge, Franny, that I get why people are concerned. So you've seen this pattern a number of times. So people think, oh, this is the beginning of the pattern. We know how that ends, right? So you see Dave Rubin go talk to Tucker Carlson once. You say, well, okay, he's defending our side or finding a point of agreement, whatever, right? But then next thing you know, he agrees with Tucker again and again and again and again. And then all of a sudden he's talking about how bad the left is and how...
I can't believe this guy owns the Young Turks, this huge media outlet, and listen how bad his fucking audio is.
My favorite example about how the forest fires in California started because the fire...
It's like he hit his microphone in a tuna can.
Departments allowed gay people to join.
Right. Wild.
Yeah, and Franny, we've seen this movie many times, and me especially as a Muslim, because Israel always finds collaborators and to come out and go, oh, look at this Muslim guy. He says Muslims are violent, and it is in their book, and it's all their fault, right? And one of those mouthpieces. So I understand, guys, that pattern exists, and so why people would be concerned the minute it seems like you're taking the first step there. But it is possible to not do that pattern, and we are not doing that pattern, and there's massive differences there, right? So they let go of all their positions. We've let go of none of our positions. And people think this is after the election, but Franny, as you know, I've been battling what I call the far left for years now. So I think that's a perfectly fine area of disagreement to have within a movement. I know that some people think, no, we're not allowed to disagree, and any disagreement is heresy, right? And that's a core thing that we'll probably discuss here today, right? That's one of the issues. And so now in terms of, so why am I doing it, or how did it come about? So how it came about is when I was doing that protest to run against Biden, I went on all the shows I possibly could, left wing, right wing, et cetera. And on the right wing shows, I was expecting what I always get from right wing, which is the Republicans are right, and you guys are all evil, and no points of agreement, just a bunch of robots, right? And what I started to see was they're not as robotic as we thought they were, right? And so there was like these flashes of like, wait, they actually genuinely hate Mitch McConnell. That's interesting. I know why. I know it's
only because Trump told them to.
Because Trump said he was bad, right?
Right.
At the same time, there's a second reason. And I know that a lot of people on the left don't believe it, but I'm here to tell you that I've seen it with my own eyes. There are actual populists in those right-wing hills, and they don't like the establishment. They hate the establishment. Now, they don't have the same opinions with us on social issues, cultural issues.
They don't even know what the establishment is. Right? If you partnered with me because I'm against racism, and you're like, I'm against racism too. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's partner up. And you partnered with me because we're both against racism. And then when you're asked what is racism, and you give a textbook definition, and when they ask me what is racism, I say, well, it's all these foreigners coming in here and thinking they can take our job. Are we partnered together against racism? When you talk about the establishment and they talk about the establishment, you're not talking about the same people. They're talking about anybody Trump labeled the establishment.
etc. And then they genuinely hate war.
Anybody who disagrees with Trump.
Now, if Trump declares war on Panama and they all go along, then I was wrong. Okay, so we'll get to that too. And so more and more. And Charlie Kirk came on in RNC, and this is the one that really threw me for a loop, and I couldn't believe it. He started talking about how bad BlackRock was and how private equity is buying up all the homes in America. I'm like, that's what we think. That's what we say, right? And I couldn't believe that Charlie Kirk, of all people, was coming in our direction on that issue. And so I think their funding might have changed, to be honest. And so the right is not the monolith that we thought they are. And right now, since they've gotten past their robotic establishment, they're in a state of kind of chaos, a chaos that's not so bad in my opinion. And you're seeing it today, like MAGA attacking Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. If they were a monolith and they were robots and they were a cult, that would never happen. Now, I happen to agree with Elon.
But that is exactly what's happening. There is a racist Groiper like attack against them, but everybody else is saying, "Hey, get in line. We're allowed to disagree, but Elon Musk say free speech for the whole world." That is what's happening.
Vivek on that issue.
I was going to ask you, actually.
Yeah, but first of all, hey, there I am agreeing with Elon and Vivek. Why? Because they agree with us.
So this is about HB1 visas and allowing high-skilled professional immigrant workers who work in tech to be allowed.
But it's widely being abused, right? If it's just used for engineers that we can't fill the capacity here, but it's used to treat them basically like slaves. It's not just used for these highly skilled tech jobs. Hell, fucking Trump has one that's like a goddamn house cleaner or some shit. Oh, a front desk assistant at his hotel. How's that high skilled tech labor from his H-1B visa?
Out in the MAGA base says that that's obviously immigration and they want to cut down on that. But Elon and Vivek, again, two millionaire and the richest man on earth, want that. Does that not fly in the face of some of what you've been saying about the base and how the base is actually great and the base is great at populist ideas? One of those populist ideas, Cenk, is mass deportations, is stopping.
Yes, he ran on it. Mass deportation. Yeah, but we could agree on some things.
Any migration is getting people out of this country.
Yeah. So, Franny, it's a great question. And so that's why what's happening today is actually so interesting. Because, number one, are we allowed to agree with anyone on the other side? Elon said terrible things. He backed that crazy radical right-wing party in Germany, et cetera, right? But that doesn't mean he's wrong about these visas. We've had that position on visas our whole lives, right? We agree with, or he has now come to agree with us. Same with Vivek. Now, but what's interesting is, so now MAGA, the populist base of MAGA, rebels against Elon and Vivek. So number one, that shows that that my thesis that they will rebel against their leaders is true. Okay. Now, do I agree with them on this rebellion? I don't. But remember, just because they're populist doesn't mean they agree with us on everything. On social and cultural issues, we have massive disagreements. Massive. I'm looking for the agreements on the economically populist stuff. So on this one, they're anti-immigration. And so again, it's not a monolith. It's a little bit more complicated. But overall, the massive MAGA is anti-immigration, and I obviously don't agree with them on that. I'm an immigrant, and I'm first generation. I wasn't even born here, right? So all this talk of deportations, and now this crazy thing that one of them came out with, denaturalizing people. That's just nuts, right? So, and I say that to their face in all the shows that I go on. I go, look, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. I think you're nuts on this, right? But now we do agree on some things: anti-war, anti-corruption, etc. Even if I know Trump is massively corrupt, and they've been misdirected. But within that chaos of the right wing,
anti-corruption supporting Trump.
Interesting, different coalitions can break out, as you're seeing today with these different coalitions within MAGA. So imagine if we had, this is really wild, right? But you've got to take a first step to be able to get to this ultimate conclusion. Imagine if we had voting blocks that weren't strictly Republican or Democrat or strictly MAGA or not.
Fucking 70% of them still believe the election was stolen.
And we could then join the voting bloc, in this case with Vivek and Elon, and protect these visas, right? Or in another case, we could join the populist right-wing bloc and prevent a war. Again, those are like huge dreams.
I think it's sort of a deal with the devil either way. I do want to just step back. I want to step back from the news a little bit and truly understand what you believe you are doing and who you believe you represent. Just really briefly, who you believe you represent when you go on these shows. You say we a lot, and I'm not sure who you are referring to when you say we. Is it yourself? Is it you? And is it Anna and you and Anna? Is it all of TYT? Is it the broader left? Who do you think you represent when you go on these shows to make the case about how there's commonality?
Yeah. So great question again. So first off, for folks who don't know, Young Turks is the flagship show of the TYT network. So the TYT network is the whole left. So Franny's on the TYT network. This show's on the TYT network, and at least on the podcasting side. And so Franny is to the left of me on many issues. So is Jordan Ewell. So are so many other people, right? And so I never block anyone from stating their opinions. And I like that we have the whole range, right? And in the past, we've had David Pakman as part of the the YouTube network broadly.
But who's the we, Cenk? Who's the we? You've said these things before, and I have thoughts on them. But who's the we?
So that's TYT. TYT is that whole spectrum of left-wing thought. And as you know, Franny, we debate on the show all the time.
We don't. We really, I just want to be fair. We don't. Because if we did, we would have had this conversation many, many times, but we don't. Number one, I am not the main host. Anna Kasparian is. Number two, I am rarely the fill-in host. Jordan Ewell has been filling in quite frequently. Number three, when I do fill in as a host or as a guest, depending on the story, is when we can actually sometimes maybe squeeze in 1 or 3 minutes of debate, but we have to keep it moving. That is the job. If the job is to do the news, it's to get to all the debates. So I just want to say that it's very unfair to say that these debates have happened on the main show. Certainly not with me, maybe once around trans issues, but I want to leave that aside. Who is we? Who are you saying when you say we?
Okay, but let me address that real quick. But yes, but I've gotten into so first of all, we do the news, so we debate within that news story.
It goes bad. It goes bad.
Is it a shorter period of time? Yes. Sometimes I'll do longer ones. I did a longer one with Jordan Ewell and Jules Sulzdayev, et cetera. And here we are within the network, et cetera. So now that's TYT is the left in general. Young Turks is the flagship show. That's me and Anna. And so I would say that we as me and Anna are maximum.
So when they come in and cut Social Security and disability and veterans benefits and shit, you're going to be like, yeah, well, we agree on H-1B with fucking Elon, though.
populist, but not maximum left, right? So I am maximum left on some issues, but not all issues. And so those are two different political spectrums. There's a left-right spectrum.
Trump originally said that. Trump originally said that he was in favor of a policy that is for, like, once you get your diploma, they staple a green card to your diploma.
And the establishment populist spectrum. I mean, I now see Emma Vigeland defending the establishment, which is mind-blowing.
I want to leave that aside, but I just want to, because I really want to talk about what you are doing and what you believe you are doing. And I want to just explain, by showing, and I want to ask you what you think the goal is of what you are doing. But here was a moment where you were on TPUSA's, on Turning Point USA's conference.
I don't know that he believes that anymore. That was a long time ago, and he hasn't said it since, but he did say it at one time.
And Charlie Kirk, who is a Christian nationalist, he's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist and white supremacists associated with them, including inviting people like Nick Fuentes to speak. No matter what you think of his thoughts on BlackRock, here is him asking you about left media. And I got to say, Cenk, this one sucked real hard for me. And you also, I think, have been using these opportunities to talk a lot about the left to the right.
I think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks.
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT. That's in the left-wing ecosystem.
I just want to stop and say I'm excited to hear which ones you like, given that you just sort of insulted Emma Vigeland just now. I'm curious which ones you actually do still support that aren't your own, but I'm going to keep going, Cenk. Hang on.
So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing, okay? So you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
And a lot
Talk about working a crowd.
on the left know this as well. If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right?
Okay, so there you are, and
Yeah, love it. Stick with 100% of what I just said there. I'm 100% right about that. So let's discuss.
Yeah, let's discuss. You had your say there, and you've been saying various degrees of that same thing. And I got to say, like, I watched this whole clip, and it started off, and I was like, this is pretty good. This is good. Like, a pretty good interview. I like that you're sitting down. It wasn't bad. This moment, like, truly a part of me died when I watched this.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah. Oh, super. Just like shriveled up and died, floated away into the ocean. Here's what happens. A couple things. He asks you about left-wing media and why there isn't more left-wing media, which already, as you are there, in the sort of kingdom of turning points, is like, that's such a dig. Like, why are you guys so weak is effectively what he's saying. And instead of pointing out the way that TPUSA has been bankrolled by Republican mega donors out of Chicago and many other places for years now, and talking about how the Daily Wire was funded by the Fracking brothers, the Wilkes brothers, now they're fishing for new, investors, whatnot, that there is so much money on the right. He handed this answer to you on a fucking platter, and all you said was, you know what? You guys are really good at being welcoming. People just like you. Cenk, they've got all the money. What are you talking about? That's effectively what you're good at coalescing. And here's my question to you about so that's just number one on the media, because that just stings because I'm in media. But on the 5%, if you disagree with MAGA 5%, they still welcome you. How did that work out for Liz Cheney?
Yeah. So look, is there a part of MAGA that'll push you out? Of course. That's what we know.
When do they push you out, Cenk? When do they push you out?
Largely when you disagree with Trump.
On anything. You can be 100% aligned, and Trump's like, I like McDonald's. You're like, I don't know about that. I like Burger King. You're done. You're a fucking rhino. You're out of here. You're a leftist. You went woke. You're out of here. That's a horrible mentality to be fostering, right? You can't agree or you can't disagree with the guy at the top at all.
Exactly.
So listen,
this is the thing that it's the unspoken thing that you're never saying, that ultimately it's all hunky dory. Elon can tweet back at you. Vivek can listen to you. But if you defy Donald Trump, the God Emperor, you're kicked out of the castle. And no one's defending Liz Cheney. Screw both their castle and the other castle. But Liz Cheney voted with Donald Trump 98% of the time, and she was upset about January 6th, and she's done. They're talking about Donald Trump himself was talking about putting her in front of a firing squad. The 1% when she was like, hey, you know what? You can't do a coup on this country. And Adam Kissinger, and they were gone. So miss me with this 5% BS, yo.
So, all right, Brandy, a whole bunch of things here. So, number one, you're right. That's definitely how Turning Point started. Daily Wire certainly started that way. I don't know what their current funding is, but they seem to have a lot more funding than any of us do. So, you're right, and I have said that in the past, and I probably should have put that in there in that particular appearance, and I will mention that, and that'll really grate on their nerves. But I've got no problems telling their audience, and I tell them all the time, no, you guys have way more money, and they're always shocked by that. And I'm like, because they're swimming in money and don't realize how much we're starving out here on the left, right? Sure. So, and I talked on Tim Pool's show about that, etc. Now, when it comes to the 5%, 95%. Yeah, I hear you. So it's when you
millionaires talking about starving is tough. Okay.
Disagree with Trump, especially in the past, especially in the first term.
Yeah, it's literally the definition of a dictator.
You're a goner, right? But they are pushing back even on Trump now. So again, on things that we don't agree with, COVID, for example, they thought that Trump did too much COVID protections, etc. And there was and this is really encouraging. When I talk about Team Miriam, Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Mike Huckabee, and Mike Walz. So those are the neocons put in by Miriam Adelson. In the old days, what I would have gotten Franny is, no way, they're the greatest. They're not neocons. You're a liar. Trump picked them. Trump's the best. Now what I'm getting from the right-wing hosts, which is amazing, and let alone the base, they're all saying, yeah, I hear you. We got concerns about them. We got concerns. Okay. So that's the thing I never heard before. So that is a change. Now, in terms of the concept that I'm referring to, the 5%, 95%, but Franny, we're in the middle of that right now. This is a perfect example. So I started the largest progressive network. I've given dozens of progressives opportunities they didn't have before. I started Just Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. The minute I disagree, like 5% on trans issues or crime, everybody's like, right wing, that's right. Almost every show is saying that. Almost every show. So you're telling me that you don't push people out. You're pushing out the movement overall, at least the online left movement, seems to be trying to push out the one network that has helped progressives more than any other network, and it's not in dispute. But my God, we have 5% disagreement. So tear it down. This is destructive extreme left that honestly, that portion, that kind of destructive attitude is poison. It's not just poison to us, it's poison to our chances of winning. Because we keep pushing people out, and then all of a sudden we lost all the swing states and we lost the popular vote. I'm trying to get our side to wake up, snap out of our hypnosis of we hate, and we hate the right wing, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racist, and they're all sexist, and we hate, and we never go in the room with them, we hate. What the hell happened to us? And no one's allowed to disagree. We're now authoritarian. No.
Wait, Cenk, can I just clarify?
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian, and this idea of just hating the other side is poison.
You know what's so funny about you calling the left authoritarian?
Oh, yeah.
Is that you think the left has power. Like, I love that you
total nonsense,
we are on the precipice of real authoritarianism and real fascism, and you believe that the online left are the authoritarians? I mean, I don't know how to tell you. You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid, and it came out, Cenk Uygur. And let me just ask you, so what shows on the left do you like that aren't on the TYT network?
Yeah, so I said, look, there's a lot of good popular shows on the left that I like, and it's because there are. So Breaking Point's a good show. Kyle Kalinski's Secular Talk is a good show. He was against me going on MAGA. I haven't seen his video, but Kyle's been against us a couple of times. But I largely didn't hold a grudge on that.
Wait, let me just stop you. First of all, you had a great conversation with Crystal Ball. I think she made some really good points to you on, I think it was on Breaking Points. Kyle has, I think, been very disturbed, especially by your appearance with Charlie Kirk. But what you just said there,
Charlie Kirk's a tough pill to swallow.
I really want to just dig into this idea that, because you're a fighter, man. That's cool. That's great. But like, you really do have a very strong, I almost want to call it Bush-like, Cheney-like, you're with us or against us attitude.
100% wrong.
Like you just literally, I love that you're proving my point. But when I say this, you truly, you sound like people are either against you, but if they criticize you, they are not. And yet here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
Yes, I do.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You think we're going to get put in camps? You sound all right. Anyway,
you think I sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you talking about?
That's such an excuse. Okay, they're going to start with Muslims. They're going to start with my people. Okay,
sure.
So stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities.
Yes, you are. You're using them as
standing in front of vulnerable communities.
Oh.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered friend.
By tweeting at Elon Musk? Please, no, help me. Come on, Cenk. This is so sad. That's so sad. Let's take
it. It got heated.
Simmer down. No. Simmer down. I'm asking. Let me just ask you real, honest to God.
You already said 12 things that I need to respond to. Can I respond to them?
No, I want to ask you this one question.
Of course not.
Let's talk about you going on these shows. Just simmer down. Let me ask you one question. Imagine if Kamala Harris had won. Okay, she wins. She wins a popular vote. She wins obviously the Electoral College. Incredible, first female president. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. And Tucker Carlson started making all these rounds on really progressive leftist shows, went on Kyle's show, went on my show. I'm like, who the hell? Started reaching out and wanting to talk and wanting to come to agreement on things. What would that look like to you?
Yeah, it would look like Tucker was trying to reach out. Tucker's a bad example because I'd be surprised if he did that. But okay, yeah, no problem.
What would it look like to you?
I wouldn't. Well, I don't. And do I think that Tucker would be selling out? No.
No. Well, I'm not. It's not about selling out. What would that like? What would it just seem like? Hey, man, we can agree. Yeah, you know what? I did say that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire and she's basically a communist. But now I just feel like I've antagonized you, and I'm here to like.
And Cenk has said some wild shit about Trump supporters. That I just saw a clip of him like 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before the election, saying wild shit.
Break bread and let's talk and let's get
shit that's true about maybe the 30-40% of Trump supporters, but using that as all Trump supporters, basically.
What would that look like to you?
It would look surprising, but I wouldn't care. I find it interesting. Why? What does it look like to you?
I mean, to me, if Tucker Carlson did that, I'd be like, oh, we fucking won. We won like crazy. We won so resoundingly. He's doing an apology tour because 3 ghosts visited him in the middle of the night and he's completely changed his tune. Because he wants to throw down with the winners. We are crushing it. And I saw in that moment, you want me to play it for you? When Charlie Kirk goes, we're glad Cenk's here, everybody. And that was the feeling that I think a lot of right-wingers have when they look at you, Cenk, where they're like, damn, yo, we crushed so hard. Even this guy is turning now.
Yeah, except I'm not turning. I've said it 2,000 times.
I'm just saying what it would look like. I'm just saying what it would look like.
Keep saying it like it's true when it isn't remotely true. But okay, let me address it. So, okay, number one, you're empirically wrong because guess what's happening? Matt Gaetz has reached out to us, Tucker Carlson, to come on our shows. And so it's your exact analogy, okay? Patrick Bet-David, et cetera, and they won. They're still trying to come on Young Turks. Why? Because they're trying to have a conversation, not because they want to do an apology tour. They think they are ascendant, but nevertheless, they want to talk to the left.
But you had to make because they think that you're.
Version of the left says,
no, they want to talk to you on things they agree with.
No way. We never talk to the other side. But we're not authoritarian.
No, that's not true.
You're not allowed to disagree 1%, but we're not authoritarian. We have no power, so we're not authoritarian. So that's not how it works, Franny. And the establishment Democrats are also authoritarian. So what do they say? You must agree with Kamala Harris, otherwise that's it. You're a heretic and you'll be driven out from the party. You know that. The establishment Democrats have done that to us for the last 20 years. Don't tell me that there's no power on the left. There's tons of power on the left. And when the swarm comes, the left-wing swarm, oh, you like to be called a woman. You racist, fascist, terror transphobe. What? I'm not authoritarian. No, that is an authoritarian mindset. Just you don't have to have power to have an authoritarian mindset. And there's different versions of power. There's the shunning power. There's social media power. There's mainstream media power. There's political power. There's all sorts of different power. So look, guys, the left. First of all,
there's also just money and actual power.
It gets back to the we. So you ask me politically, who do I represent? I represent the great majority of left-wing voters. The great majority of left-wing voters are not pro-establishment. They get tricked by mainstream media into voting in that direction. It drives me absolutely nuts. But when you ask them about policies, they agree with us completely on policies, right? And the great majority.
That's the problem, though. They don't know what policy they agree on. You can give them the same fucking policy and tell them that Biden did it, they fucking hate it. Tell them that Trump did it, they fucking love it. So there is no this debate on even if you win the debate on policy. And they say, okay, we see it your way. This is the policy we should have. If Trump says yay or nay, that's it. Right?
The majority of left-wing voters are not far left. They think a woman should be called a woman. And I'm not saying that in some dismissive way. I'm in favor of trans rights. If you want to be called a birthing person, we love it. We got no problem with it. You be called a birthing person. But when you say no, we call everyone a birthing person. America hates it. Left-wing voters hate it.
I just want to say,
no crime. Left-wing voters hate it. So I'm standing up for the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters and left-wing voters.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Authoritarian sides of the left saying, you're not allowed to disagree with the establishment. You're not allowed to disagree with the...
I do think that's a genuine problem with the left. Right? So I do think they try to make a gigantic issue out of people like language and people just talking or people misspeaking, and the fact that they try to force people like this is the new way and you've got to do this so you're not offensive to anybody. I do think that comes off bad, and they'll run a lot of people off that way.
Extreme left. No, I am allowed. I am allowed.
Hang on. Wait, please. I don't want to lose the forest for the trees here, truly. And I hear what you're saying. I know it can feel online like a circular firing squad. I understand.
Million percent. It happens every time.
I know it does. So I come from movement backgrounds, right? I've been in many spaces since the global justice movement in the early 2000s, then the anti-Iraq war movement. I've been in a lot of organizing spaces. I have been in more organizing spaces, far left spaces than I have in campaigns, political campaigns, for example. So I know those.
Oh yeah, the Affordable Care Act. You should be thanking me. Trump saved it.
Very well. I know we can often over police one another. I know we can tear each other's throats out. I absolutely concede that. I do agree with that. At this moment, sad to say, that's not the biggest fish we have to fry. In fact, we are in, again, a moment just before Project 2025 will be implemented, and people like myself, people who are on the streets demonstrating for Palestine, will be recommended for deportation, among many other things. But of course, I guess maybe I'm using that as a shield. I don't know, according to you.
But we agree on H-1B visas.
I did want to ask Cenk before this. I want to ask you about who the establishment is in your mind. Who is the establishment, and who is not the establishment?
Great question. So Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, all the corporate Democrats who take corporate PAC money, serve their corporate donors 100%, lie to us 24/7, never intend to do any progressive policy positions, never intend to do any Democratic policy positions that they state in campaigns, and are backed by the liars in mainstream media, pretending that they're on our side when they're playing good cop, bad cop with establishment Republicans and robbing us blind on behalf of their donors.
Do you think that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are establishment?
So they're complicated. The reason they're complicated is because they act like the establishment. They do the same robberies, the same corporate tax cuts, but they are pretending to be populist. And that's why I've called Donald Trump a fake populist hundreds of times, right? And I've called him a fake populist on right-wing shows. And I've said, hey, watch out for your own donors. On right-wing shows, right? And so, but they're not part of this the machine that was the Borg. Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden were the co-captains of the Borg, and that machine was unstoppable, and that machine was...
But he just took that over, right? Not to mention the authoritarian moves of threatening to taking people's jobs, right? You either vote with Trump, no matter what your constituents want, no matter what you fucking believe, no matter what you've stood for the last fucking however many years you've been in there, you either vote for Trump or we'll primary you out of there.
Maintains corporate rule, and that's my mortal enemy. That Borg is the one we should all be fighting against.
So do you think it's less bad that one person donates $277 million to a candidate versus 5 people donating $277 million to a candidate? Elon Musk gave $277 million to Donald Trump, and is now, again, worth $400 billion. Is that somehow less establishment in your mind?
So there's two parts of it, Franny. One is they at least talk the populist game, and the advantage of that is that also spread through the right-wing base. That, hey, them faking populism, remember the people that are hearing that message don't realize it's fake, right? Mm-hmm. So they're talking anti-war, they're talking anti-corporate. You see Tucker Carlson talking anti-corporate. You see Steve Bannon saying we should increase corporate taxes. That doesn't mean Steve Bannon's an angel, but what it does mean, or anywhere near it, but what it does mean is that idea of populism and anti-establishment, et cetera, is spreading throughout the right wing. That is an amazing opportunity for us to actually coalesce on economic populism that they now believe in, even if their leader doesn't, right? So that's point one, and it's super important. Point two is...
Until he says, no, that's wrong.
In some ways, that individual corruption is worse, and in some ways, it's better. So how's it worse? So Miriam Adelson gives, $137 million to Trump, and Sheldon Adelson had given him $200 million in previous campaigns. So he delivers foreign policy to the Adelson family, right? Moved our embassy in his first term. Now he's thinking about allowing the annexation of northern Gaza and the West Bank. And you saw me fight tooth and nail against Trump because that's what I was really, really worried about, that he's going to go and be extreme and radical to serve his top donors. On Elon, he handed all of domestic policy to him. So that's how it's worse. How in the...
Dude, Israel, I'm not out here fucking saying we must demolish Israel because they're doing fucking genocide, blah blah blah, or whatever. It's very complicated. The two states. It's super complicated, right? But you just handed the keys to the guy who says we should just fucking nuke them off the map. Like, if there was any nuance in your thoughts about Israel and Palestine, you just handed the keys to the guy who doesn't care, who says we have to get in there and rip them out by the roots.
The world could be at the same time a little bit better. Well, the way that it's better is that it's not a machine, it's chaotic. So it's one guy here and another person there, but the other person disagrees with Miriam, and then Trump doesn't quite know what to do, and he listens to the last person in the room, but he also kind of listens to his base. We've got chaos there, and chaos is way better than a machine.
If you're any further left than Israel should just destroy Palestine and make it all Israel, then it's wrong at this point.
Machine is ruthless and just steamrolls you. So I think that's nothing worse than the McConnell-Biden era. Nothing worse.
Okay, I do want to talk about the McConnell-Biden era and establishment a little bit more, but just on that, I feel like my very first question to you is, well, what are you doing? I feel like that's the most cogent answer I've gotten from you that I could sort of get on board with, which is exploit the chaos to turn MAGA against Trump. But even if you wanted to do that, I'm not sure you're achieving it through the kinds of interviews that you're doing and the way that you're playing to the right, especially when you go on those stages and hit the left more than you do the right. But I just want to leave that there. I accept the hey, let's play.
It does seem like this is something that I think he should genuinely be called out on. They're only bringing him to parade around to talk shit about the left, right? And then when he does his own show, it's talking shit about the right. But when he's brought on as a guest, they bring him there for a very specific talking points that they ask the questions and lead him to.
Plant the booby traps so that we can make them fall into them later, that kind of thing. That makes the most sense to me, even if I sort of strategically disagree with it. I want to talk about the establishment, though, and Mitch McConnell. So, for example, Mitch McConnell, who I am no fan of, obviously, believes that there should not be recess appointments for the Trump administration. Would you say that that is establishment, ergo you are anti that and anti-establishment?
Mitch McConnell is against recess appointments.
Yes.
So that was a super tough one because sometimes the establishment will block something. Like if Bernie was president and he wanted to put in Stephanie Kelton as Treasury Secretary, I actually would disagree with that. But I put that as an example. The establishment would say no way, and it would block it with everything that they have. There is a scenario where I would say, Bernie, do a recess appointment, right? And so on the other hand, if Bernie came in and said, I don't care about advising consent to the Senate, I'm just going to do everyone as a recess appointment, I would say, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not a good idea.
Why?
So
because it's anti-democratic. Was that?
Yeah, the core of so, Brandy, the core of the question is, when we talk about the system, what do we mean by the system? Because there's two different systems that people refer to, and then they conflate them. The system we want to protect is democracy, the Constitution, civil rights, etc. That's a system that we love and believe in. The system we do not want to protect and we want to fight against is donor money, establishment, protecting the status quo, protecting corporate rule. So separate those two things out, because one, the permanent system of the Constitution and democracy is great. The current system of corruption and establishment rule is horrible.
Yeah. Do you understand that the right actually just conflates those two things?
I think the left often conflates those two things too.
Well, okay, so you would be in favor of Donald Trump doing recess appointments, or you wouldn't in this case?
So if he's doing blanket recess appointments, I'm against it. I always think shoe on the other foot. That's why I brought up Bernie Sanders. In order to be fair, hey, how would I feel if it was the other way around? If he does one or two, I understand it as a matter of philosophy.
Okay.
But if he does a recess appointment, I'm very likely to be against that particular person, like a Kash Patel or Pete Hegseth. He's going to do recess appointments on the most radical culture warrior stuff that I hate. I hate when the right does culture warrior.
Have a good one, Donnie.
I don't love it when the left does it, but I certainly hate it when the right does it. And so I'm worried about his recess appointments because of the people, the specific people that he's likely to do them with.
One of those things also in terms of this establishment and anti-establishment sort of framework that you're using is also Project 2025 and Russell Vogt, who he just appointed to be the head of the Office of Management and Budget. Russell Vogt would like to fire federal workers, replace them with loyalists. He also wants to use the military.
Yeah, it's Project 2025, right? Have a loyalty test.
Military to target political dissidents. This is all obviously in Project 2025 that he helped to author. Is that establishment or anti-establishment? There's nothing more anti-establishment than firing a bunch of federal workers. Do you believe that that's a populist thing to do?
No, it's fake populism. And so it's so alluring to the MAGA base because they feel like, oh, we're fighting against the government, right? But what I'm trying to get them to understand is, like, you guys, they think that the government is a blanket bad thing. And so the story I often tell on these shows is the one that Matt Stoller does, great progressive, done great anti-monopoly work in the Senate, et cetera, which is, hey, what size pipe should I get? And people always ask, and that's why Matt does it this way, well, what job are you doing? It depends. And that's exactly the point that I make to these right-wingers. Do we want big government or little government? Well, it depends, right? Are we invading Iraq? Then I want smaller government, right? Are we going to invade doctors' offices and get between a woman and a doctor? Then I want smaller government, right? But if we're going to protect the average American from the bankers, then I want a little bit larger government. I don't want to defund the police on Wall Street, right? So I explain that, hey, if you fire people that are at the IRS, guess who's it's going to help the most? The very rich who cheat on their taxes.
But they all want to audit the Pentagon, which the IRS doesn't do. But it's very interesting that, you got everyone to cheer auditing the Pentagon. But of course, the idea of auditing billionaires, the Republicans are absolutely against that because they've been trying to defund the IRS. Exactly.
Right, because you're just attacking them because they're super mega rich Christians who love Donald Trump in our country.
Right, and remember, again, there's different layers of right wing now. There's their leaders who are almost, uniformly full of crap. Then there's, a middle bureaucracy, and then there's the voters. And the voters, and Franny, you don't have to trust me on this because those MAGA guys, they will tell you exactly what they think. They're not holding anything back. They have no need to lie to you.
They've been telling us for many, many years.
Yeah. So they're also not lying when they say they're anti-war, anti-corruption. They might have been misdirected, but they're not lying. So what I'm trying to get them to see is firing the federal workers is not the answer.
Yeah.
Cutting the Pentagon is part of the answer.
Yeah.
And so when they say yes to cutting the Pentagon, they're not lying. The MAGA voters actually want to cut the Pentagon.
What do you think?
It's a completely different question. And so one more thing that's super important, though. It's not a booby trap, Franny. I understand what you're saying, and that's one way to frame it. But in my mind, when you have people who actually agree, you're not tricking them. You're just getting them to see, guys, you wanted to cut the Pentagon, but look, your leaders didn't cut the Pentagon. So do you see how they led you astray? Right? I'm actually getting them to a position. I'm just showing them that their leaders are not doing the things that they promised. On the other hand, sometimes Trump responds to his base. So if that base gets angry enough and says, hey, let's cut the Pentagon, maybe Trump does cut the Pentagon, whereby never.
Not when it's versus his financial backers at all.
But McConnell
you just saw him side with Musk when the vast majority of people were against Musk.
Would. In the Biden-McConnell era, the Pentagon's only going to get increased forever and ever and ever. Corruption is always going to increase forever and ever and ever.
I mean, wait, just on this.
The advantage for us is that he likes to be popular. He just doesn't know how. So,
sure. So I just really want to, just drill down on a couple of those things. and then there's a lot to talk about, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but just
Atsuko, what the fuck is going on in Japan? Is this you? Are they just filling titties? Is this a thing that happens there?
Did you find it? Okay.
Seek Idiot just resubscribed for
Thank you for the
32
resubscription.
months. Happy New Year, everyone.
Oh, Happy New Year to you.
Okay. Please answer. Okay. What's
Atsuko, what do you got these people doing?
You understand? Okay. Okay.
It'd be funny if she was like wearing like a plexiglass plate, and it was a big like suction cup dildo.
Answer. Okay. Outside your hand? Yes. Outside. Yes. Please give me answer. Very good. Good. No. What is this? What so? No. Inside. Yes. What is touch? Opie. Okay.
Opie. What's opie? Atsuko, what's opie? What are they touching up in there? Anyways, back to the debate.
just on this new MAGA, old MAGA thing. I've heard you say new MAGA, as you talk about anti-corruption, anti-war. Cenk, they were like that in 2016, man. I mean, let's be honest. The reason Donald Trump just destroyed the Republican primary was absolutely being an outsider, right? And sort of purported seemingly anti-establishment, even though, he's a billionaire, part of the elite. But it really was around being against the Iraq war. Now, for his reasoning was we should have taken all the oil, F those, whatever, like enter expletive, right? Which I think gets to another point. But he was also, remember, in terms of the corruption stuff, they wanted to get rid of, what was it? They wanted term limits. They had term limits and were suggesting them early on. So the actual the outgrowth of an entire country tired of 8 years of Bush and endless war, and also that was, suffering from the 2008 financial collapse and didn't have any faith in the banks and these financial institutions and all the politicians that protect them. And that was already in the ether, right? And you had a Bernie Sanders and you had Donald Trump. And of course, the actual establishment, the centrists that I hate as well, were trying to say Bernie is exactly like Donald Trump. Look at him. He's using the same. No. They were very different. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about the differences between right-wing populism and left-wing populism. I think there is a difference, and there's a very important difference. That difference is historical as well. Right-wing populism often feeds off of nativism, off of othering immigrants, religious minorities, blaming.
How they gonna pretend like Trump is against or wants term limits when he's constantly talking about running for a third term?
Those people, and then we can have the socialism, right? That's why obviously in Hitler's Third Reich, you've got a National Socialist Party, right? This is Germany for the Germans, and there are people who are in Germany are the Germans and people who are not the Germans. That also in this country, although you scoff when I talk about Chinese Americans, there was the Chinese Exclusion Act, specifically dividing working class people in this country based on race, saying the Chinese are the reason you don't have anything. They're the ones taking all of our jobs, even though we know that the rich robber barons were absolutely taking advantage of them, just like we know that all the Trump donors who pay for their positions in this administration are also taking advantage of undocumented labor. So do you see a difference between right-wing populism and left-wing populism? And are you not barking up not just the wrong tree, but a very, very dangerous one?
Yeah. So, no, I think there's a massive difference. And so first, let me just really quickly address what you said about the Chinese. So the Chinese were the only nationality ever banned from America. Trump considered a Muslim ban, but didn't actually execute one. The Chinese were actually banned from America for a long time. So I know all about racism against Chinese, and obviously that also sprung up during COVID, et cetera. But just in that heated moment there, I was saying that the Chinese, are maybe third or fourth in line these days. Muslims.
Not for what they're talking about. I mean, I'm just looking at what they're saying, which is like this would be the easiest group to sweep up. Like I'm just saying, not like Chinese immigrants who've been here for decades. No, I understand. That's why I said that. I didn't just pick it because I'm Chinese. I literally just looked at what.
It would be extremely easy right now. It would be the easiest probably of all ethnicity-based bans to get Chinese, right? Because they've got all this fear about competition and COVID still there and the spies and the balloons. Trump spinning the right words could get all of his base behind a Chinese band.
They're talking about. But
No,
anyway,
look,
but
my
so you
kids are
do
Chinese,
agree.
So
you,
I'm worried.
you agree, though, you agree that there is a difference between left-wing populism and right-wing populism.
Yeah, so now let's get to the core of it. So there's left-wing and right-wing populists on social issues disagree more than we disagree with the establishment. The establishment is generally like, we don't really care if you're Chinese, Muslim, whatever. The only color we care about is green. As long as we let us rob you from here to eternity, I'm good with it. We'll allow Peruvians to rob you, Jews, Muslims, Christians, everybody can rob you, right? And so
And the establishment is, again, just Biden, Kamala Harris,
McConnell, everyone who takes corporate
McConnell.
donations and serves corporate donors, okay?
But not
So
Donald Trump, because he
95%.
doesn't take corporate, except for all the corporate money he's taking. But he's different. Okay, keep going. Okay, I'm just trying to understand who the establishment is and isn't.
Back money. I mean, how many times can I call them a big populist before you believe me? Okay, so the establishment is better on social and cultural issues than the populist right is. So that's why, like, this is not, you can't make blanket things like, in my opinion, never talk to them. They're all racist, etc.
I never said that. I never said not to talk to him. I never said that.
Hold on. Or they're all lovely and they've all turned and they're all amazing and are going to agree with us. No, of course not, right? So, but on economic issues, we agree a lot more, way more. And that's super important. And so, and you know what it is, Franny? They're using the culture wars, in my opinion, to create a wedge between us. That's why they're called wedge issues, to get us to hate one another instead of realizing that the problem isn't to our left or right. It's up, look up. The problem is up, right? And so but right-wing populists on that nativist strand that they have, which is real, yes, it's scary and it's super wrong-headed, and it does put us in the line of fire. So when Steve Bannon, he says both of those things. He says tax the rich, increase tax on corporations, and then he says my favorite book is Camp of the Saints, where the hero murders all the immigrants that are coming into France, right? So virulently anti-immigrant, right? And so I don't want to empower the Steve Bannons of the world and the Ann Coulters of the world to do their crazy stuff, right? That is anti-immigrant, anti-my family, anti-me, anti-all the people we care about, the American people, the left, everyone, right? But we get to fight them on that, Franny. We don't have to say like blanket Steve Bannon's great, Charlie Kirk's great. No, and I've been so clear about this.
So you think you've been fighting? You think you've been fighting them?
Oh, on the issues we disagree on, hell yeah. And so I got into a fight in trigonometry over in that show over trans girls in high school sports, and they're outraged by it. And they're like, "Oh, what if your daughter comes in second place in cross country?" I'm like, "Who gives a crap, right? What are you guys going to check the genitalia of millions of kids because you're on this like transphobic like mania, right? Just settle down. These are culture wars. They're dividing us. Stop letting them divide us."
I think one thing that's really hard, and this is just in general, like we talk about trans issues. I actually want to play a clip from your Turning Points conference, but I do just think that one of the biggest issues for me.
This is one of my favorite clips that come out the last couple of days. Hold on just a second before we move on. Talking about the difference between the left and the right. Let's see if we can find it. There's Tim lying again.
It's Elon's fault. He needs to be deported or arrested instead of deported. I'm okay with that too.
What would you arrest him for?
For hijacking our news and spreading Russian propaganda all over our shit and destroying our country. Talk to a conservative and be like, hey, have you checked out Snopes or whatever? They'll be like, oh, fact checkers? Those are liberal propaganda. That's where we're at right now.
Well, I agree. There is people like that, but
like all of them.
I like to think you can also
like all of them. People. Right. There's not just people like that. It's like all of them.
Too. Like it's not. You can't convince all of those people. There's always going to be crazy people. If you
no, I agree with you. It's the problem is the scale.
Exactly. There's always going to be crazy people. The problem is the scale of the crazy. The people that won't even engage in reality.
There are always going to be crazy people. Is some shit you say when there's a crazy dude that lives at the end of your block in a trailer who still believes in aliens. That's not some shit you say when half your community believes in some wild shit.
25%.
That's on QAnon,
that's
right?
Crazy.
On the election, 80% of conservatives think the election was stolen with zero proof.
I got some
zero.
That believes that.
Zero. Nothing. Not a single piece of evidence. Not a single shred. The DOJ didn't find any. All the court cases were lost. None of the investigations turned out to be anything. All the affidavits were bullshit. Sidney Powell, Giuliani, Eastman all got disbarred. Giuliani said $148 million.
Everybody that touched it, that was a lawyer, got disbarred.
Joshua, they need to declare bankruptcy for. Dominion and Smartmatic are winning every single lawsuit, okay? All of the sanction hearings are showing you that every single part, all of it was bullshit. All of it, every single part is bullshit, and 80% of them still believe it. What do you do in that circumstance?
Deportation.
Me, that is not. It's not hypothetical. It's very real, which is the right to an abortion, and that is one thing that I think a lot of the so-called right-wing populists don't really give a shit about, especially not the mouthpieces of Donald Trump. They don't care that women are bleeding out from miscarriages and dying, going into septic shock. They don't care that they're being turned away from hospitals, that, yeah, their life or death is dependent on a bureaucracy right now. That seems like a difficult thing to find a so-called middle ground on. And I feel like we're just sort of ending up with this hypothetical discussion rather than talking about the actual people who are dying literally right now as I speak.
So, Franny, number one, you can't find a middle ground on everything. My idea isn't that we're magically going to kumbaya on every issue. That's crazy, right? Okay. So that's why I keep saying thousands of times, when we disagree, we fight. And the good news is...
But I don't want to get a beer with someone who thinks that I should, go into septic shock instead of be attended by a physician.
Yeah, so I know that this is the thought that's breaking a lot of people's minds, but you should. So please let me explain why, okay? So it's so easy for both sides to say, no, that their way of thinking is so antithetical to what we think, so wrong, that I will never have a beer with them. I will never talk to them. And every time I see them, I'm going to say racist or sexist or some sort of charge to show my moral superiority. But hold on. Remember, they think their radical right is saying the same exact thing to them, to Patrick Bet-David, to Charlie Kirk, to everyone who hosts me. They're like, Cenk called us fascist. Cenk believes trans girls should be allowed to compete in high school sports. And Cenk is a radical in this, and Cenk is a radical, and he thinks he's a Muslim, and he's this, and he's that, etc. So they say, don't have a beer with him. Don't talk to him, right? So, but that's exactly how we get siloed. And instead of having conversations and realizing, yes, we massively disagree on 60, maybe 80% of issues, but for Christ's sake, on some of the most important.
I think you still need to have these conversations, but you got to hold your ground. You can't be going on there and just being their puppet. For like, yeah, the left is crazy. Yeah, I can't believe they said this. Yeah, fuck the establishment. And I'm glad you guys are doing so well.
Issues. That 20 to 40% where we agree on economic populism, we never get to an agreement, and then the establishment laughs their ass off at us.
Sure, but Cenk, because
hate each other.
If your 5% of disagreement with me is I don't believe you should have equal rights under medical law, I fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Wait, hang on. It's not fuck you. It's I'll see you when I beat you. Do you know what I'm saying? And this is to me what left-wing populism is about. This is what Bernie was so good at doing. He would never throw anyone under the bus. He would always remember black, white, gay, straight, Muslim, Jewish. Like he kept on going and he'd be like, when's he going to finish this laundry list of people he wants to bring on board to the political revolution? And it was brilliant. And he never forgot to do it. And he never caped to the right or the right-wing framing. He said, yes, he might work with Trump on some labor stuff. Did Trump want to do that shit? Of course he didn't, right? Did Trump vetoed a bill that he finally got passed to not sell Saudi Arabia weapons when he finally reached across the aisle? Everything you're talking about, it's all fine, but we're like little insects bumping up in a fucking diorama because at the top is goddamn Trump. And if you don't kiss that ring, then you're absolutely nothing. And so to me, I'm like, I will beat the right, I will win back these voters, but I will win them back with ideas, with plans, with real policy, and yes, of course, with making our movements and the left welcoming and absolutely doing all of the things that, to be honest, the right doesn't do, because you are absolutely off your shit if you think that the right and left are equally hateful. And that's what I'm hearing from you, that you think that somehow the left and the right, they both hate equally. Both of them want to intern people. Both of them believe that some people don't deserve rights. And I want to play this because this was a very awkward moment. I'm a stand-up comedian.
That are wrong. No, Bernie agrees with my positions 100%.
Wait,
so what you described about Bernie is exactly me. And so that's why I'm like, what Bernie has the same positions as me, the same idea, the same framing. In fact, he's agreed with Elon Musk on cutting the Pentagon in the exact same way that I have. And yet Bernie is an angel and I'm the devil. Like that's crazy.
No one's saying that you're the devil.
That's crazy.
Bernie actually builds. He's not making the rounds. He's not making the rounds. He's not pushing back. He's not pushing back.
He published an op-ed in Fox News today. He makes the rounds exactly like I do. Good.
No, I think that's important. But honestly, Cenk, file your nails or something, because this was not good. This was not a good look during that conference.
I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, healthcare, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Okay, Cenk, I'm a stand-up comic, so I listen to crowds regularly. I know when they are booing, groaning, or in this case, there is a whistle of disapproval, and I know when they are cheering. Now let's play it again. They're not on board with trans people having the same constitutional rights.
I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, healthcare, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate?
You got maybe a sixth of the audience. There's a couple people clapping very, very, no? Okay.
And then Randy, let's break it down.
This is the best part. You got to keep.
That was very, very bad. If he would have said, do you think anybody should have constitutional rights? The immediate answer should be yes, right? Of course they should have constitutional rights. Everybody does. And the fact that you think you could take constitutional rights from anybody is a bad look.
Keep watching, because it's the best that not only you get hung out to dry on this can we all agree shtick that you're on, and they don't meet you. And then
all right, hold on, guys. I feel like we need to take a step back. We need a break from the debate. Maybe it's gotten too bad. Is it too much? I don't know. Let's do some stretching. You guys follow along at home. We're going to do some YouTube suggested. This is in my news feed for YouTube. YouTube suggested stretching exercises, okay? Cleanse the palate. That's right. Okay, that seemed like a lot. Let's go back to the debate. Let's go back to the debate.
He meets you with this.
Constitutional right to housing. Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
So then he goes like, wait a minute, not only don't I not agree with you on the trans people, because he never answered it. He's like, actually, fuck your right to housing anyway. And I know that's not even what the Constitution says. It's just equal protection around housing, right? It doesn't say you have a right to housing. I wish it did. But like, it's just amazing to me. Like, do you see, and you look at him and there's a moment, you're just kind of like, there's just this moment and it's just like, what are we doing, Jake? Like, what? What's going on here?
You look dumb as fuck. Like he's getting ready to give you a high five. And he's like, no. There is no constitutional right for these people.
This is a great example. You're being so unbelievably unfair about that interaction. The reason I did that, Franny, and I knew I was taking a big risk, is because I wanted to try to get some of them to, because I've done it on other right-wing shows and it worked really well. It didn't work really well this time. That's why it was a risk. But I challenged them on how trans people are like every American and they should have constitutional rights.
Well, let's watch a little bit. Let's watch whether you did it. Let's watch whether you did it. Did you do it?
That should be the bare minimum. Like, we're not talking about bathrooms. We're not talking about schools. We're not talking about story time. We're not talking about TV shows and brand deals. We're just saying, should people that live under this Constitution have constitutional rights? I don't know about that. I don't know.
Did you do it or not?
Important, and you're totally smearing me on a thing that is crazy.
I'm playing you the clip. I'm not smearing you. I'm literally playing the clip. Jake, I'm playing the clip.
Will you let me talk? I said I had the courage to challenge them on constitutional rights for trans people. You asked me to have the courage to challenge them. I did, and now you're attacking me for it.
No, I'm not attacking you for it. I'm saying you have characterized this.
Look at this. They didn't agree with me.
No. I'm saying
you tried to get them to agree to constitutional rights. That's exactly what we should do. We should say trans people are just like every American citizens, and they should have constitutional rights. I go and have the courage to challenge that audience to that, and then you want to make fun of it? Like
I'm not.
It's it's just fair and equal housing opportunities, right? You can't discriminate.
I'm saying.
I agree with you. What do you want? Do you want me to challenge them, or do you not want me to challenge them? Make up your mind.
It was a big swing. You agreed that it was a little bit of a miss. And I think.
By the way, you're not exactly right about that either. So I was in the room. 2/3 of them cheered. 1/3 of them clearly did not, and groaned and
the people
cheered.
who were cheering were not mic'd properly. I understand. Look. It was a swing. It's good you asked, but I didn't think that you really had like a save for that, because I think you were like you actually gave them credit.
He's very upset now.
That agreed, and meanwhile, Cenk, you have so much disdain for our side. If I say, hey, I believe trans people should play in sports, you have so much disdain. You get so mad. But here you are, and here is what you say.
Constitutional right to housing.
Okay, so I hear you. What I got out of that, guys.
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start. It's a start. So, guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right, and I say it to the left.
Okay, so
When's the last time they heard that message? Never.
Thank you for, I guess thank you, but you have so much grace for people who really were groaning and not on board with what you said.
When did I say I have grace for them?
I mean, no, you said it right there. You said, hey, I'll take it. And it was like, this is what we got to do.
2/3 of the room said, yay, trans constitutional rights. When's the last time 2/3 of AmFest
why do you not extend the same grace to so-called radical leftists?
I'm really glad we're back to this, Franny, because this is important. And we mentioned in the beginning, and I want to come back to it. So having grace for the left, I run the network, and everybody gets to have their own opinion. Everybody gets to fight me. Everybody gets to state their own opinion without any editorial control. Well, first of all,
but you do go ballistic on them like you went ballistic on me earlier. You do get, and you always say, you're wrong. You want me to do that? I can do it. You're wrong. You're an idiot. You're wrong. We can do it. We know what you do when you disagree. It's not. I'll take it.
I'll take it. Important for the audience to know.
I'll take it.
So we fight, right? When we disagree, I say you're wrong. You say I'm wrong. But is there any consequences afterwards? Do I then threaten your job? Do I take people off the air?
I barely have a job with y'all. But like, look. First of all, we rarely ever. Back to what I'm saying, Cenk. Who's your main co-host?
Yeah, on the Young Turks.
When you say
there's like over 24 Young Turks contributors and hosts.
I know, I understand that.
So okay, but
I'm trying to tell you that there is in fact, Cenk, let's just be real. We said this privately. I'll say it publicly now. About a year ago, around the time of the trans stuff, the trans sports stuff, you said to me, "Hey, Francesca, just so you know," and I don't think it's not a secret, but you didn't tell the audience. It was like, "Hey, just so you know, like TYT main show is kind of like mainstream progressives. Like that's sort of what we want to be, and we're more mainstream. Just so you know, we're like moderate progressives kind of thing." And I was like, "Okay." And then I said to you, why don't we have a debate? Like, why don't you bring John and I on? We debate, you and Anna. We could talk about trans issues. We could talk about, crime. We could talk about all the things that always, get under our skirts. Like, we could talk about that stuff. And that was like, you didn't seem that very excited about that.
Franny, that is a crazy standard. So first of all,
no, I'm just being honest. Like, just to say, like, we've never had that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw her. I thought she was just making a joke. Happy New Year's there, Kelly.
Can I answer? Okay.
Are you mad someone's talking too much? Is Cenk either mad someone else is talking too much?
So when do I get animated? When people cut me off. That's what drives me crazy. Okay. So now the thing that you just said that was our private conversation, I literally said at the very beginning of this broadcast.
You could say that about anything. How much does anything fucking matter? You can say that about anybody talking about anything.
Okay. So I said the populist establishment is one spectrum, and we're on the extreme end of.
On what scale? To the relationship between me and my son? to me paying my rent this month? Obviously not.
Left-right spectrum is different, and we're not on the extreme of the left. I said we're kind of in the middle, not the moderate BS that the mainstream media does, right? Oh, Joe Manchin is moderate. No, he's not. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell are moderate. No, they're not. They're radical corporatists, okay? They perverted the word, okay? So, but am I in the center of the left? Yes, I'm in the center of the left, and so is Anna. So, like, people catch feelings over that, but the polling shows it, elections show it, everything shows we're in the center of the left. And I'm proud to be there. I don't want to be on the far left.
I don't think.
But I don't block anyone for being on the far left. And we've had thousands of conversations. And the reason why I'm saying your standard is unfair is you're saying you and John were not involved in those debates, but I've had those debates on there, and I'll have more. I don't care. I'm not shy about it at all. Do I look shy about debating or discussing? So if you want to have another one on the Young Turks, me and you at the 5 o'clock hour or whatever it might be, because 3 to 5. So I'm saying Pacific time. Everybody knows Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We do the show, and that's a news show. So we go through the news items, right? But now sometimes what we're doing is at 5 o'clock we're having guests on for longer conversations. So if more progressives that are on the just as populist as us or somewhere else on the populist spectrum, but to the left of us on that spectrum want to come on, great. I believe in my opinions 100%. I'm here to defend. That's why I'm on this show. So, but what gets me animated is when others say, "No, Cenk, you are not allowed to have that opinion." I give everybody the space to have their own opinion, and I run the network. But Cenk, even though you run the network, even if you didn't run the network, you're not allowed to have that opinion because that opinion aids and abets racist, sexist, whatever excuse we're using. But you're not allowed to have it as an immoral opinion, and you're not. And I do not agree to that.
I think I've been an example for the last hour of trying to hear you out on your opinion on all this, and I feel like I've gotten. When the converse happens, and I explain that I think that there's a fine line between being anti-establishment and fascistic. There's a fine line between being populist and pro-authoritarian. That so many throughout history, authoritarians, Mussolini, have been massive populists. They were loved and liked, so long as certain groups of people weren't included in that populism. And I think there's a better way to do populism.
Okay, you tell me, Franny, what's your genius idea for how to win the voters back without ever talking to them?
Well, here's my genius idea. Let's just say, okay, just imagine you had the biggest YouTube channel for, progressive media. Just imagine you had that. And you had a massive failure in the Democratic establishment. Kamala Harris gets her ass handed to her. Biden didn't drop out. And people are scrambling. They're running like, rats off a sinking ship from MSNBC, from Pod Save America, and all these Beltway bros that lied to them about the Democratic Party having this in the bag, knowing what they were doing, that never talked about capitalism, that never talked about corporate donors, that never talked about any of that stuff. And I would love, if I had a network, to be the place where people from the center left or liberals, the wicked liberals, to come over and say, hey, let's think systematically about this. Let's think long-term about this. Let's think about political revolution. Let's think about getting serious about the 99% against the 1%. That's what I would do.
That's exactly what I'm doing. So you're welcome. I explained exactly. Hold on, let me answer.
I don't see you doing that.
No, you're wrong. Again, you're wrong. So I explained how Pod Save America and The View and Morning Joe were so full of crap, pretending that they knew all along that Joe Biden had trouble. Then why didn't you say it, you liars? Why did you protect them all along? I ran against Joe Biden. I did a petition against Joe Biden. I said we should do an open primary. My number one motivating factor is to find a populist left figure that wins that 2028 primary. That is the most important thing in the world. And now you've got me scared, Franny, that all of a sudden, like, if the far left peels off and goes and agrees with the establishment and votes with them, I will lose my freaking mind. It will be the greatest betrayal of this movement that I have ever seen. So I'm massively against
I don't think you consider
anyone on the left should be massively against the establishment. So what you're using is fear of the right-wing populism going south on us, which is a real fear.
Oh, I remember a misdemeanor.
Trying to guard against, to say, like, to now all of a sudden, like, wait, the establishment's not so bad. No, the establishment's horrible. It's horrible. I'm not going back in that prison. I'd rather be in the populist woods with real human beings fighting and battling and trying to get to the right answer, the right coalitions, than to be in an establishment prison where we're locked up by Mitch McConnell and goddamn Dick Cheney and Joe Biden and Pelosi, and we're marched back into, let it continue the robbery. Thank you, sir, for the robbery. We appreciate your
And the right's not robbing people? The right doesn't rob people?
So, no, but look at that, Franny. Look at what you're saying. I just said 200 times in this interview that Trump's a fake populist, and there's going to be a huge
concretely, I don't know who you're talking about. Concretely. No. I'm just, let me just say how I see it. Just you've explained how you see it. So I've been covering Trump since 2016. We covered his rise. One of the big videos we did in AJ Plus was like, why do people like Trump, right? And everyone was like, oh no, we have to talk about why people like Trump. And it's so obvious. The outsider tells it like it is, very direct, not afraid to upset, the normal establishment order of like, you gotta be a politician, you gotta be this. Of course, he's kind of funny. There's a million reasons. Right, and there's a million reasons why people like him, and yet obviously there is a massive danger. My brain just made the biggest noise on me, and I do not remember exactly what I was saying. But
It don't matter. So what
Where the fuck did that come from?
So you remember?
You're right. You say something.
Yeah. So Franny, look. It's when I talk about people attacking us, I want to be clear about this. It's really important.
Okay, wait. You say it really quickly.
Yeah,
I remembered. My analysis has always been Donald Trump is a great brand master as an outsider, but he's a trope.
I found it. You guys want to see it? It was a wild audio. It was this started playing on Twitter suddenly. Here we go. Strap in. A flying kick to the fucking face, dude. as is. That was wild, dude. That had to be set up, right? It was wild.
Horse. That at the end of the day, even though Mitch McConnell, says his bullshit and whatever, of course he wants all the same things that Donald Trump wants. Trump is a brilliant Trojan horse for, yes, the establishment, right? Look at all the neocons he's appointed. I made a joke like, oh, all the cabinet positions are going to be, and yeah, you got random Kash Patel and whomever, but they're going to be the people commenting on his Truth Social. It's like, nah, he's picking Huckabee, he's picking Marco Rubio, he's got Elise Stefanik, he's all these people who are going to be at war with Iran within a couple of years. I have no doubts about that. So like, I truly, unless again, his actual base is like, no, including us, like, I just feel like, is that not clear?
I lost my wave.
That Trump was literally just a Trojan horse for establishment politics. It's as if Bernie Sanders said all the things and all the right things, but when got into office, Nancy Pelosi's behind the curtain pulling the levers. Like, wasn't that just understood that that's who he was?
So no, it's more complicated than that. I agree with everything you said about Trump and why he got to be popular. He ran as anti-establishment, as a fake.
Everybody, send good vibes and rub your healing crystals for Dr. J Banana. Our bananas brews tonight.
Populist, right? And so that's what worked really well. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had a real populist on the left and ran on populist left? So I hope to God we all agree to that in the 2028 primaries. So in terms of the part that I don't quite agree on the Trojan horse, you're right. That's all he's done so far. In the first term, he had 4 freaking years, and his number one and almost only accomplishment was corporate tax cuts. Massive, massive corporate tax cuts. And in fact, on the Young Turks, back then I said, watch, the establishment's going to leave him the minute those tax cuts pass. I even named a name. I said Gary Cohn, his national economic advisor. Okay, he's going to leave right after the corporate tax cuts pass, because that was the Trojan horse part. So you're right about that, right? But Trump is uncontrollable. So that's why that's why the Mitch McConnell and the establishment fights against.
That's not something we want.
Trump during the primaries, they didn't want him because they want people that can be controlled.
It's not just that he's uncontrollable. Like someone's going to come in and say, you better vote this way, or you better do this thing, or you better do this. It's that he's a fucking loose cannon.
Trump is uncontrollable both in terrible ways and maybe potentially ways that could be positive. And that is why the establishment is scared to death of him, is because they're like, well, what if he does things that are populist in the right direction? No, right? Now, he hasn't yet, right? So, and the policy that you just mentioned.
But he just might. So, he hasn't come in and fully endorsed this, the things that we want. But he might. He might.
That's the one where the rubber hits the road. And so I am so curious what's going to happen. So Israel has absolute power at this point. And they're drunk on power because they believe Trump is going to give them everything that they want. And in the beginning, he definitely will. That's why he nominated Team Miriam, as I explained earlier, Stefanik, Rubio, etc. Right? And so those guys will be our neocons. They will push for us to fund Israel's wars from here to eternity. If I am wrong, then there'll never be any pushback from the right-wing populists, the MAGA base, and they'll be like, oh, send all of our money to Israel, start more wars. Maybe we should fight the wars for Israel. And then I'll come on your show and go on the Young Turks and say, guys, I was wrong. No, it turns out the right-wing populists, they weren't anti-war. They were just cultists, right? Or I'll be right, and some portion of that base will go, no, we're sick of funding Israel's wars. Not that they care about Muslims. I mean, Tucker's a good example of it. He turned on the Iraq war a year into the war, and he explained on a radio show, he's like, because these Iraqi Arab Muslims are monkeys, and I don't care about them. So he doesn't do it with good intent or anything positive in his heart, but they genuinely want to get the hell out of wars, right?
Yes.
So if I'm right, when Trump pushes too far on Israel, they're going to push back. And so that's a great mystery.
I want to do it
with our own eyes.
Yes. And I want to say, for the record, here's what I'm not against. Bringing those people into the fold of a broad progressive coalition that includes everyone. So, however, if those folks are also like, yeah, because there's already too many Muslims here, right, guys? That's something that I have a line around, but that's not to say, especially if it's some random uninformed voter who's just like racist by, just sort of not genetically, but like their dad was a racist, so they are a little bit, whatever. Like those people, culturally, those people can be worked on. I do think for me, this is what a broad coalition looks like, but there are lines, and that line for me is respecting human rights and civil rights of your fellow Americans, which I think you're trying to get to. But I do want to ask, we all hate Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, but like in practice, is what you're doing that different from, like, if you were to get invited to Mar-a-Lago, Cenk, wouldn't you go?
Oh, I would definitely go. And so, okay, so
to open lines of discussion.
Yeah, so good question. So let me address it. So Mika and Joe were very clear. They said we went down there because we're scared, and they wanted to court power and get access again. So to me, what is that about? That's about their ego. That's about their career. That's about their money, etc. For me, why would I go to Mar-a-Lago? Well, I'm not going to ask for any money. I never do. I don't. That's not what I do. And I don't care about their positions. I don't want to be the Trump administration. I don't care about any of that. What do I care about? I care about policy. So I believe that if I'm in a room with Trump, I can convince him on at least one policy. Okay, and I know no one believes that, but just put me in a room with him. Okay, and I'm not going to walk out of it. And if he says no to the policy, right? Then I'm done. Then I gave it my best shot, and it didn't work, okay? But at least I tried. At least I tried really hard to move that ship in the right direction. Remember, Trump likes to be popular. So that is a place where you can show him, hey, look at these populist positions, economically populist positions, which are overwhelmingly popular. Do that. So a good example is cut the Pentagon instead of cutting Medicare, right?
What do you think the probability? That's why I want to ask you a question. What do you think under Doge? What is the probability that the Pentagon is cut versus what every single Republican ultimately wants, and that's why this guy's their Trojan horse, cutting Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? Like, what's the probability they actually cut the Pentagon instead? I'm giving it a 4% chance on Poly Market.
We should do a bet on there.
Let's do a bet.
So no, I've got it at 20%. So not very high, but higher than what you got it at. 20% that they cut the Pentagon. So 80% that they won't. But now there's a fighter's chance. A fighter's chance that they do.
In comparison, like
Hold on. What is the chance they try to cut Medicare or Social Security? 60%. So that's still much more likely, right? And I've started to see and by the way, here's another reason to communicate. I now am seeing right-wing hosts talking about cutting Social Security. So they're coming for Social Security. I see them.
100%. Lazy motherfuckers. Get off your Social Security and go back to work until you die at the factory.
Talking about arresting 2 people. So they, the 2 that they're most obsessed with, Fauci and Liz Cheney. So that's real, and we got to stop that. I hate Liz Cheney, but you don't arrest her because you don't like her. That's not a thing. In fact, I had a huge battle with Vinny, who's a right-wing populist that I agree with some issues on, but a huge battle on that on Patrick Bet-David's show last time. I'm like, brother, you need a crime to arrest people. Hey, she hurt my feelings is not a crime, right? She disagreed with Trump is not a crime.
I mean, it is now. I mean, Kash Patel, if you are a journalist or a pundit going on MSNBC and you say something about Kash Patel, he's going to send you a defamation, letter of defamation, whatever, a threat to sue him, and that's what's happening. I actually, and I do. Here's lastly, do you have a second, a little bit more?
Yeah, and I want to say one last thing too, but go ahead, Brandy.
Okay, I just want to, because this I think was another moment on Patrick Bet-David's show that stung, and I appreciate that you got into it with Vinny. I'm not discrediting that again. I'm not saying all of these appearances have been 100% awful. I just feel there have been moments where you throw the left under the bus more than you push back on the right. And you may disagree with the characterization. That's how I feel. This part stung for me.
Why do you think they're losing these names? Yeah, so everything's a little bit different.
And he's talking about like the Tulsi Gabbards and RFK Jr. and why the Democrats have lost those names.
Yeah.
Person's different. So Tulsi, I think, was always secretly a right-winger, but Bobby Kennedy Jr. was not. He was definitely a Democrat, right? And so he's a decent example. So Bobby has opinions that a lot of people on the left don't agree with, right? To which I say something revolutionary to the left. So what? Okay, he agrees with us on the environment. He agrees with us on housing, on anti-corruption. He doesn't agree with us on vaccines, fluoride, et cetera, right?
Okay, I stopped it there because you talked about, giving him a fair shot in the primaries, which I actually agree with you about. However, I take issue with, so what? My daughter's 2. She's going to be going to preschool, then to kindergarten, then obviously in public school.
And they're making decisions. It's not just like they believe differently than me. They believe differently than me, and they're making decisions that we have to live under while they believe differently than me.
For childhood vaccinations is truly whether or not my community and my family are safe or not. Having RFK Jr. as the head of the HHS is wildly dangerous, and it's not a culture war issue, Cenk. I'm not saying he's not right on some things, but again, what's the probability that his HHS is going to do anything to rein in corporate power or regulate, the big R word, regulate any of the ways that they poison us? No, they're not going to do that. What they will do is get rid of any vaccination requirements and just sow even more distrust in what has protected millions of people.
Yeah, so it's a fair question because you're misinterpreting what I mean by so what, but not on purpose. It's a miscommunication. So when I say so what, I don't mean, it's no big deal, or that we shouldn't fight him as the head of HHS. I'm against him being the head of HHS. I mean, so what is in so what? Then let's fight him on those things, right? So I wish he was the head of HUD, and then I would support him. He's great. He wants to ban private equity from buying residential homes. Great. That's a great policy, right? But as the head of HHS, I massively disagree with him. And I think that getting rid of vaccines is a very problematic and not a cultural war issue. It's very real. That affects people's actual lives. And when vaccines are blocked, there was a story out of Pakistan. They thought it was like an American trick, and then they blocked the polio vaccine and polio spread. And they're like, no, sorry, come back, right? So that's what I mean by so what. So what? Let's fight them on. Like, there's no, see, that's partly what's wrong here, which is that we're thinking of them, us. And so if they're in the them, then we hate everything about them, right? And what I'm saying is, no, we don't have to hate everything about them. What we have to say is, so I don't agree with Bobby Kennedy on vaccines. So let's let's fight him and show that he's wrong, right?
Sure.
So
Okay. All right. I'm willing to give that. Well, as we wrap, I do want to ask, do you think about how what you're doing reflects on TYT as a whole or on individual hosts at all? I personally feel implicated by a strategy that I do disagree with. Or do you think, well, I'm doing the right thing, so everything I do should reflect beautifully on everyone who works at TYT?
See, this is a way of getting me, like saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. You're implicating me in a strategy I don't agree with. What am I supposed to do? Not do the strategy I believe in because it might implicate people on the network?
I think I'm asking for empathy. I'm just asking for empathy, Cenk. It's just being a little empathetic.
No, I don't think that's about empathy. I think what you guys are asking for, and this is why I'm not on the far left, is you're saying, since we don't agree with your strategy and your strategy implicates us, if you were empathetic and a good person, you wouldn't do your strategy. And I don't agree. I think my strategy is way better and will protect all of us much better. And so I'm not going to purposely do the wrong strategy because it implicates people on the far left. If you say, hey, I'm so implicated, I'm going to leave. This is unconscionable to me, as some did. Great. I got no problems with it. Everybody makes their own choices, but I'm not pushing anybody out. You get this. Everybody gets to stay. Everybody gets to have their own opinion. They get to have it passionately. They get to fight me on it. They get to fight everyone on it. They get to make their case. I can't do any better than being super open-minded and allowing everybody to make their case. If you say, Cenk, you shouldn't make your case because some of us feel implicated by it, well, that's your problem, not my problem. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, about that, I'm reminded of the book by, I think his name is Michael Schneider, on tyranny, and he wrote, it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say, my strategy will protect us, is he has this chapter, I'm gonna bring it up, the first part of it, called Do Not Obey in Advance. And he writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want, and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech, because I'm gonna do it for you. Or you don't have to come to me.
Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. So you should stop your stupid opinion and because you're implicating me.
I feel like there's a real, Cenk, I feel like there's a real misunderstanding of power in your mind. And I think, I don't know why.
You're hiding behind this power dynamic.
No, I'm being totally honest. I am a contributor.
Oh, there's 100 bits. Thank you very much.
TYT that I go on every time you guys ask. I step in a pinch often. Sometimes I don't. I've been asked less and less as of late. Jordan has sort of eclipsed me. It's fine. I don't give a shit. But like
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
I am but a mere contributor. I make very little money from this show. I'm really grateful to the people who support it. Again, you have founded the TYT. You've been the head of TYT. You're one of like a stalwart in broader progressive left of center media discussions. Like what you do is far more impactful than what I do. I'm just being honest with you. Like you have a huge footprint. You have
it's a good thing I have the right strategy.
And when you go on shows and you go on stages, again, with Charlie Kirk, it looks like an apology tour. You implicate not just everyone who's worked with you and everyone who is ostensibly on your side, but it basically makes it seem like it cheapens everything that we've done and we've built. That's why I can't sleep at night. That's why I feel sick when I see you on these shows. Like, I'm just being, I guess I'm nuts. I guess I'm totally crazy and I should just trust you and say, yes, you're doing the right thing. You're protecting us. But all I'm doing is I'm filled with absolute despondency, like truly. And I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half of me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get
I can show you more clips,
to agree with us on things we believe in, and we've always believed in. And you go back and scratch their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
No. So let's end on this because this is monumentally important. So I say everybody's allowed to have their opinion. You say when I have my opinion, I'm hurting other people. But that's do you hold on?
You're hurting a broader movement. Yeah.
Hold on. Do you not get that privileges your position? And says my position is obviously the correct one and the moral one. And since you have the incorrect immoral one, you are implicating me in your immorality and your wrongness. So you really shouldn't do that because that's being immoral to me and other people who agree with me. Because since you're so obviously wrong and immoral about this, you're implicating me in your immorality.
With great power comes great responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
It is definitely the correct position.
I'm saying with great power comes great responsibility. I'm giving you.
But you've gone off the reservation and you've gone rogue, Cenk. So now it is your fault for implicating the beloved far left, who clearly have the correct position. So
I really
don't have the correct position.
And
you don't represent the left. So please stop pretending you represent the left when the voting and the polling clearly showed you don't. And it's not wrong to be center left. You think that it's like center left is like no, it's I don't know what you think it is, MAGA or whatever. But you want to talk about
I said it's Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi having a baby, Cenk. I think ultimately you just need to embrace your centrism, my guy. I think you're just more of a centrist than you think.
Like, I just explained it, but you don't want to hear it. I said it earlier, Franny. I'm not talking about the disgusting centrism of Manchin and all of that the mainstream media lied to us and called centrism. That's radical.
What's wrong with Manchin? Manchin works with both sides. He's a perfect example of what you're doing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Manchin is the establishment. The fact that you
the perfect example of what you say you're trying to do.
can't see the difference between a left-wing populist who despises the establishment
who's a right-wing populist
who loves and is the establishment.
Who's a right-wing populist?
You can't see that difference. It's stunning.
Who's a right-wing populist? Who is a right-wing populist? Name him. Who's a right-wing populist?
On Patrick Bet-David show is definitely a right-wing populist. Dan Holloway on Drinking Bros is definitely a right-wing populist.
Vinny on PBD thinks that the Biden administration blew up the bridge in Baltimore.
He does.
Tell him about it. He's a white right-wing populist. He thinks that the Biden administration blew up a bridge in Baltimore to somehow hurt Trump.
That's right, because they're not saints, and they don't agree with us.
Who's a right-wing populist in office?
They're not saints. No one's asking them to be saints. We're asking them to connect with reality. If you're going to lend your credibility to speaking with these people, they've got to engage with reality. They're not saints. They're not Mother Teresa.
Who's a right-wing? Is it Matt Gaetz? Who's a right-wing populist in office? Is it Marjorie Greene?
The new right-wing populist is absolutely clear. And see, guys, before I say the name, I know what's going to happen after I say the name.
Set a pineapple out on your front porch.
You're going to think of all the bad things he said about social issues, and you're going to think, oh my God, Cenk likes this guy. That's why I now hate Cenk. So I'm telling you, ahead of me telling you the name, no, I do not agree with him on the social and cultural issues, and I will fight him as hard as I possibly can on those. And I don't think that he's right on all the economic issues at all. But he has begun to be populist because he stopped taking corporate PAC money. Josh Hawley in the Senate. That is now a right-wing populist. Tom Massey, a right-wing populist. Okay, those guys, Massey, you could say 1,000 terrible things about him, but he is honest. Everybody knows he's honest. He's honest to a fault, right? He says some things I'm like, whoa, that's freaking crazy, right? But are they actual right-wing populists? Yes, they are. And the number one way you can tell if someone's going to be a populist is if they stop taking corporate PAC money.
Okay, I accept that. I accept that. I just want to say, lastly, I worry about our relationship because I mean, I don't have to, like, we may grow distant. You know what I mean? I'm trying to delve more into my show.
I don't know. You probably go to a pineapple store.
Love going on John's show and Dr. Richie's show. That's it.
How many loofahs you got?
TYT network. This show is on the podcast network of TYT. there's no money that really exchanges hands. You guys do help me with the podcast hosting, so I appreciate that. So I may owe y'all money. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just being honest. Like,
you don't know anybody.
But you know what I mean. I'm being honest about what our arrangement is.
Yeah.
But I worry because, you know, we were but 5 minutes into this conversation, and
Cenk says, I'm the left. I'm the left. Cenk is a narcissist. The left is just a left of center on political spectrum. No one is the left. This is like a peak narcissism language from him. He needs to grow up.
Said Emma Vigeland likes the establishment, and it doesn't matter what she said. Hang on. It's not about what she said. But it is concerning that there are so many former TYT employees, and let's put Doran Rubin aside, but people like Ben Dixon and Emma Vigeland, and even longtime contributors who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that, you know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how? I'm afraid, man. Like, I'm next. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do that I'm booted out of the castle, and suddenly it's us versus them. And so what does it say about TYT? What does it say about you that there's so many former employees who are on our side ostensibly, who you have so much disdain for?
So, Franny, if you're next and I have this secret nefarious plan to push people out, why am I on here? Why would I come on here and talk to you for now nearly 2 hours? When if I'm planning to push you, that doesn't make any sense. So number two, some people have left the network, and don't exclude Doran Rubin, because Doran and Rubin and some others they went right, but some others went left or far left or whatever. But some group of them have the same agenda. Come watch me, come subscribe to me, not the Young Turks. I'm the morally pure one. I'm the right one. I'm the one that's right, and they're all evil and terrible. And don't give them money. Give me money, right? So let's keep it real. So is that everybody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. So a good example is Mondale Robinson. I like Mondale, and he has the similar ideological problem as you do. And he decided one day, that's it, I'm quitting, right? Yeah. And so, but bless his heart, that's what God made doors for. Okay. So and now he's attacking me and saying I'm in league with racists and stuff like that. Okay, that's his opinion, right? But when people cross a line like Rubin and Dor and Sam Cedar, etc. And others, and they say, oh, Jake's just has this evil plan, and he's doing it for money, and he's a grifter, and he works with the CIA, or he works with this guy or that guy. Okay, now
they can't say that Cenk works for the CIA. He'll never work with them. But if they say the Biden administration blew up a bridge in Baltimore to hurt Trump, good to go.
Lying, and you're lying in like extreme ways. So like this whole thing of like Sam, for example, analogized me to a Nazi, but he's done 1,000 things. That's just one of them. And then when I go, hey, hold on, when I say cut that crap out, and they're like, oh, we're the victims. Oh, I just said you were a grifter, and that you're still lying to people, and you're cheating people, and I said you might be a Nazi, and you're definitely a right winger. But I'm the innocent one. I can't believe Cenk counterattacked after I punched him in the face 20 times. I can't believe me, poor little.
But he believes in saving Social Security and cutting the Pentagon. So. Can you give him credit for that and work with him?
Oh, yeah, of course. So, I mean, if Sam's going to vote to save the Social Security and not cut Social Security, I'm not the guy who says, I don't want his vote, right? I just don't have to go on his stupid show and agree with his stupid ideas.
but you just, again, stupid. Again, these are words that you reserve.
Okay, Randy, if I called you a Nazi and I said you're a right-winger and you're secretly taking money from Pelosi and Charlie Kirk, then, hey, and you said, hey, you got angry with me. Wouldn't that be a rational reaction?
I think there's been a conflation with...
Oh, I love Cenk. I love that he called me a Nazi. I can't wait to work with him. No, he's a freaking grifter.
Holy shit! Let me rewind. Look at Cenk's mouth. He's foaming in the corner of his mouth.
There's been a conflation with.
Oh, I love Cenk. I love that he called me a Nazi. I can't wait to work with him.
See it flash? He's foaming.
Oh, he's a freaking grifter. That's all he's ever done. He literally told me that he was trying to take Jimmy Dore's audience because Jimmy's was bigger.
Good.
So he wanted to.
You remember what Jimmy Dore did to me? You remember the reason Jimmy Dore was out the door was in part what he did to me, and you and I talked about that at the time. It was when he had to finally face the fucking music and be like, hey, you cannot bully another not employee but contributor.
I stood up for you, right?
You did. It had to get bad, but you did. He had also been. I mean, he had been going the way of the dodo for a long time. But I just want to say, like, so it doesn't say anything about TYT that there are these former employees who really, and I just want to back to the last thing I'm going to say is, people really liked you. They really did. And they looked up to you. And they thought of you as a comrade, a boss, a co-conspirator in this grand, political project to really change this country, to make it more democratic. It really is. I have to say, like, there's a thin line between love and hate. And even these channels that are hell bent on being like,
I think a lot of people that lean further left have a real issue when they start a business, like Hassan, right? More will come. I have watched in the past during some hard times, so it's the least I can do. Thank you very much. 5 6 packs. I appreciate it. Like Hassan, right? Being fucking the walking, talking Twitch Communist Manifesto and then not paying people and shit.
Like, Cenk's this, Cenk's that. You know what? They were all massive Cenk fans. I think we all are a little bit. And so I just want to say, like, it is sad to us to see you, honestly, act like very small when in fact you could be a lot bigger.
So, Franny, I think you're being unbelievably unfair. So you're taking 6 people, 4 of whom are like clearly doing it for money, okay, and clearly doing it for attention. And
I'm not taking anyone. I'm asking you a question.
You accuse me of incredibly unfair things. Can you allow me to respond? Franny, you know the people inside TYT. They work here 15 years, 17 years, 20 years, 17 years, and they love working at TYT. And what these assholes are doing is pretending that we're bad bosses and we're bad to our employees and we're bad to everyone that works at TYT, and we do all these things and we push them out. Bullshit. Every one of those people left. And they said, oh, I'm going to be bigger and better than you. And then they viciously attacked not just me, but everyone that works at TYT. Why do you think Edwin and Bart and all those guys have been there for so long? We gave people 12 weeks of paid family leave when no one else was doing it. And we did it for moms, we did it for dads. I mean, I can go on and on. Franny, to make it seem like I'm pushing people out and that I'm the bad guy here, when in fact, you know for a fact that 98% of the people that work at TYT love TYT and try to stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes they'll go to a different company and go, whoa, holy shit, that's bad, and come back to TYT. So please be fair and honest with your audience, because working at TYT has been amazing for those people. And all we're getting is smeared by a couple of people who literally say, we want to tear down the network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for, and they're trying to take food off their table because me, I'm going to tear down the left-wing network. Why don't you spend your time, those people that I'm talking about, tearing down the right wing, tearing down Trump, tearing down all these people, instead of sitting there and going, oh, someone on the left is bigger than me, I'm going to tear them down. And that's what they're doing.
I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask, I think yesterday on the Mark Lamont Hill show, you did say that, that what your strategy has actually cost you and cost TYT some subscribers, and members, more importantly, who financially support the show. Speaking of putting food on 75 people's table, what is your reaction to that? I know anecdotally there are people who love and support my show, even though I truly don't talk about my disagreements with you. And God, Cenk, I've been over backwards. The reason my show is at 1 p.m. is because it's right before you, right in between when TYT doesn't have any show. I've bent over very backwards to accommodate TYT. But there are people who love my show who say, I had to stop supporting TYT for a lot of political disagreements. And what do you say to those people, or how does that make you feel?
I refuse to be wrong on purpose. So we lost a lot of members and paying subscribers when I started criticizing Obama from the left. And I said he shouldn't be drilling in the Gulf and he shouldn't be bailing out the bankers without any consequences, et cetera. And people were outraged. But I didn't do it because I didn't know the term back then, but I know it now. It's called audience capture, and I'm not going to do it. So if you say, at the time, you were like, no, be pro-Obama, be pro-Obama. I'm like, no, I'm not going to lie to you on purpose. And now some folks are saying, no, tell us the far left is totally right. And then that like there is no crime, and on and on and on, right? No, I'm not going to be purposely wrong. And so I'm not going to do audience capture, and I'm not going to say that. And so how could I be a grifter and say at the same time, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of money that I'm super worried about for all of us at TYT to do the right thing? That's the exact opposite of grifting. That's saying I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on what I think is the real viewers of TYT.
But it looks like your audience capture is now people that you can capture that see you at Rot events or on Rot podcasts or Right wing. It looks like that's your audience capture now, and you're sacrificing that for what you think is a smaller audience left that can't deal with what you're doing.
And representing them. And Franny, what you're not seeing is there's so many people on the left who are afraid to state their real opinions because they're going to get shellacked online. All the far left is going to come out and call them a right winger and a fascist, et cetera. They're so scared to actually state their own opinions because the far left has so much more power than they realize in terms of the social media ecosystem.
Sure, right? I agree. And I do think that it would benefit all of us to be a little bit less online, because I do think there is a real left. They are in labor unions. They work in homes. They, they are serving people Starbucks, right? Like there are real leftists. Yes. They are, let's be real, they are on the streets demonstrating for Palestinian human rights. They've been on the streets, although I know this gets into prickly territory, but they've been on the streets saying things like defund the police, saying things like Black Lives Matter. And I know you might disagree with them, but there are real leftists who don't just live online. And so I hear you about, I absolutely concede our movements. We always talk about this. How can our movements be more attractive? Be, as Michael Albert, who wrote this book called Participatory Economics, used to say, how do we make the left sticky? Like sticky, where people want to be there and stay there. And sure, it's by not over policing one another, and it's by meeting people where they're at. And I think that is absolutely true. But for me, it's not about what I see is conceding to a right-wing framing within the ceiling.
I think they're bringing them on the Daily Wire.
Of Trumpism, because there's always a ceiling, and that ceiling is Donald Trump.
But Franny, I'm not conceding, and facts have to matter. Facts have to matter. Like, you're painting me as a collaborator when I haven't collaborated at all. All I've done is argue for our positions. And in fact, you showed a couple of times when I argued for our positions, right? And if you showed all the right-wing shows that I was on, you would see me fighting for left-wing positions on right-wing shows that no one's ever done. And do you know that
I've been on Piers Morgan. I do that a lot.
So, if you count Piers Morgan, I totally agree with you. So Patrick Bet Davis show, I made the second last time I was on, I made a case for pay.
Him and Tim Pool are getting a show called The Beanie Turks.
They polled their audience. 75% of that right-wing audience said, yes, we should pass paid family leave. Who else has done that? And for that, I get called a collaborator, and I implicate others in my collaboration. Can you not see how unfair that is?
So what is the goal then? Do you hope that maybe some of those 75% are people who heard your argument around paid family leave are like, you know what, let me check out the UIT. Like, let me see what they're about. Like, I liked what he said on this one thing. Is that also the goal?
So the strategy is to coalesce populists on the thing. I'm saying it for the 200th time because it's not getting through.
But it's not about audience, then. It's not about maybe getting some of their audience. Because I understand, I don't know what you're talking about in like a framework. You know, are you a movement leader? Are you going to start a political party? Or are you just the head of an online channel? I mean, the latter is what we know to be true, right?
Yeah. So look, when Jimmy left and other people left, oh yeah, young person going down, blah 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 blah. No, there's total nonsense. Never had any issues. Here, this is a giant fight, and we do have issues. Okay, and so. That is standing on principle. No, it's not like I didn't know that we were going to get into this huge issue, right? And that the other left-wing hosts were going to take this as a great opportunity to try to whittle us down. And so we've gone through all that, and we've done that. So why am I doing it? Number one,
this sounds fucked up, but the left probably should have planned this a little bit more. And when there's so much that's at stake as what's at stake with Trump, right? He's a fucking lunatic. They probably should have known that America's too sexist to run a woman against him, right? But that also is Biden stepping down earlier and all these other things falling into place.
Because I believe absolutely that it is the right strategy and the right policy. And to the ultimate goals that you're asking about, Franny, number one, we've got to win the primary 2028. So why am I saying things where I go, hey, I'm center left and I do not agree with far left? Because I believe far left will be used. And you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. Kalinsky disagreeing, no problem. You disagree, no problem. Jordan, everybody disagrees, no problem. It's only when they lie and they do bad faith is when I've got the issue. Okay. So you guys disagree, no problem, guys. Okay. But my goal is, number one, you know.
And what he's about to say is true. They use the far left and the people that are terminally like on Twitter and crazy and it's ma'am person. They use that to paint the whole left, anybody left of center or anybody disagrees with Trump as these fucking crazy radicals who want to come in and cut your kid's dick off. And they will use that against you when we primary, right? And people are scared of that shit.
In order to win that primary, we've got to convince the normies that we're not going to release all the criminals. I know it sounds like hyperbole, and I know that really bothers people, but that's how they're thinking. That's why Oakland recalled their mayor 65-35, because now they started to think that the word progressive means release the criminals. No, it doesn't mean that. It means Medicare for all. It means paid family leave. It means higher wages. So that's why I have to distinguish in order to win that primary between the center left and the far left, and also because it's true. I am center left, and the great majority of those voters are center left. They do not agree with the far left on some of the extreme trans issues, crime issues, etc.
You don't think that
that's why defund the police went over so poorly, right? Because a lot of the center left latched onto it, not as like, let's not have any cops, right? That's what they told the right it was. And some people on the far left are like that. We don't need cops, anarchy, whatever. We can police ourselves. But what it actually meant was like, let's take some funding from goddamn armored vehicles and put it into de-escalation. But the way they painted it so well with like, they don't want you to have any police protection ever. Well, tell them to call the cops the next time they're stabbed. They painted it so well, it just fucking flopped. It was horrible.
Just to finish the thought. When we get to the general election, can we win over some of those former Bernie people that went to the right wing? Can we win over the independents and moderates that are not MAGA but voted for Trump because they said Trump was more anti-establishment than Kamala Harris was? Can we win those guys over?
My show's been political since it started. I don't know. If you don't like it, don't watch.
So that our side wins? I believe we can. But and I'll use myself as an example again. So when they tried the Muslim ban, I have every right to call them Islamophobe from here to the end of the earth. I have every right to be concerned about me and my family, okay? But I don't believe it's the right strategy to call them Islamophobes and to push them away. I think the correct strategy is to go in the room, get some agreement on some things that we agree on, and then fight over the things we don't agree on, but treat each other as American citizens and human beings. And then at the end go, hey, by the way, I'm Muslim, okay? So
it's always been a political show.
Do you think someone like me should be banned from the country? And when you do it that way, 9 out of 10 times they go, well, no, of course not. Of course not. But if I came in and said, you're an Islamophobe, you're a racist and a bigot, they say, ban this mother effer, right? And so I just think you guys have the wrong strategy and some wrong policies. But that's a normal part of a healthy debate. We could have had that debate without people making wild accusations.
Well,
Instead of saying we disagree, they're collaborator, right-wing fascists, etc.
I really hope that you do, and I hope, let's leave it, I really do hope that you can get past what you feel are slights, to actually speak to some of the people that you're talking about, to be in more rooms with leftists who you may disagree with, and more people who are ultimately on your side. I've had the same conversation with Van Jones back in 2016, man. It's like I'm deja vuing all over again, where I told him the left is more on your side than the right, and he's like, no, the left wants to tear me down. But anyway, Cenk, it's really great to have such a candid, open conversation. I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get like super mad, but then rein it in and be cool, and then be like, we're just gonna yell, and then we're gonna be fine, and then we're gonna get over it. So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes, thank you.
But not with.
How does this keep playing? What the fuck, dude? It really wants me to watch that clip.
I'll leave it at that. Everybody, you can check out all of the interviews. You don't have to, it's not hearsay. Watch for yourselves and see Cenk, and obviously every single day on TYT, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Cenk, for being here.
So, Franny, last thing I clarified. I'm going on every kind of left-wing show. Yours, Mark Lamont Hill, Breaking Points by Tyler Cohen, Dollcast. There's just a whole new destiny where I guess he's kind of on the left.
Oh boy, we'll talk about it.
But I'm going, David Packman. I go on every show. The only shows there's only a couple of shows I don't go on.
But Destiny is like Destiny is like a huge fucking pop. And they're like, I guess he's on the left.
Because I think they're bad faith. And what they then do is saying, oh, he's not going on any left-wing shows. Well, because they're the demigods of the left? No, I'm going on shows that have good faith, where we have wild disagreement. And like you said, sometimes we even yell at each other, but when we settle down and we have a beer, so this idea that I'm not going on left-wing shows or we're not doing left-wing stuff is just not
Well, we're making the second round. We're like the second tour. We're the B cities of your A cities.
No, that's not true. Randy, the whole network is left-wing. So, I mean, the aberration was going to talk to the right wing.
Well,
so,
I mean, I would love to see you and the doc just debate the police. Like, you and the doc talk about crime. Like,
that's a great idea.
I would watch the shit out of that because...
Yeah. Because we don't disagree on the police. We disagree on, I don't even know that we disagree on crime, so be careful what you wish for.
No, exactly. You guys might agree. I'm just, because all we do on that show, right, is look at like Karen videos and cop videos. So like, everyday racism and like institutionalized racism.
But I totally agree with what Michelle says on the cop videos. Please, everybody check out Indisputable. That's Dr. Rashad Ritchie's show that Franny's referring to. Check out Damage Report. That's John's show. John is closer in his policy views to Franny than he is to me, I think, these days, etc. So please give all those shows an opportunity. Check out everybody on Rebel Headquarters. That's where there's tons of interesting agreement, disagreement, etc. But there aren't any right-wingers at TYT. It's the whole range of the left. And I'm going to always allow that range. Everyone from like moderate left, like I don't mean center left, I mean moderate as in like actually like closer to the middle, closer to Republicans, etc., all the way to far left and everything in between. So that's what TYT stands for. And everybody in that spectrum gets to have their opinion, but that also includes me and Anna. We're also allowed to have our opinions, our own policies, and our own strategy. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Cenk, thanks so much for being here. Go live your damn life. See you later. And thank you all for being here. It was beautiful. It was heated. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And
those are pretty good. She called them out pretty well.
Continue to have,
right.
Especially when it comes to establishment, anti-establishment, right populism, left populism, and just straight up disagreeing. And I think
Destiny's so they always talk about how is the left going to have their Joe Rogan. Destiny's the closest thing you got to that. And then when you speak about him, you're like, I think he's on the left. I guess he's sort of, kind of. Destiny's the closest thing you got to that. That's it. That's the closest thing you got to that. I know you don't like him because he's a capitalist. And I know you don't like his take on fucking Israel-Palestine. But he is the closest thing you have to a Joe Rogan on the left. Not as big, right? But he reaches out and touches fucking normal people that claim they're out of touch with you.
The last piece, and it's just too much to get into with him, but where majority opinion is at on issues like crime has everything to do with...
You did a very good job.
And the perception of crime being up, just like the perception of the economy being bad, has everything to do with how people vote, right? Now, of course, Cenk would probably say, no, look at these stats, look at those stats, but man, it ain't the 80s, guys. It has gone down, right? But our perception of it is absolutely shaped by the right-wing ecosystem that has far more power and connections to real power. So not just right-wing funding, but literally we've tracked, there have been great documentaries. I think it was the QAnon Into the Storm documentary that basically tracks how the right and MAGA and Trump launder the most obscure stories upward till they become policy, right? I mean, there is a pipeline, a reverse pipeline from, the backwaters of right-wing conspiracy theorists and literal...
We will absolutely have policy in place to prevent Haitians from eating people's pets.
And the White House. And so they have far more power than we had. If only there was a pipeline between us and Nancy Pelosi or, anyone in power. Sadly, there's not yet. And so I think it's really important to remember that as we think about narrative and messaging, as we go forward and we try, again, I've said this multiple times, how can we humanize migrants, right? They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And the New York Times does one article about Haitians in Springfield like a month after the whole thing. And it was great. But why isn't every single news outlet doing their job of humanizing immigrants? Who are we talking about? What about trans people? Who are we talking about when we talk about trans people? And so you will see that from me. You will specifically see that from this show going forward, speaking to organizers and activists who are on the ground, who are working with the trans community and defending them, who are working with the immigrant community, especially the Haitian immigrant community and Black immigrants, I think are obviously particularly aggressed upon. So that is something that I will always center is that kind of work in addition to the radical analysis, yes, radical analysis of real intersectionality, real broad-based coalition work that needs to be done to build for our side to win. I don't want to give the other side any credit. I want to win. And when we win, I want their figures to come over to our side and be like, ooh, what's going on there? Hey, can't we work together? They work pretty similar on these issues. And again, I think I made my point pretty clearly that there is no difference between this MAGA and that MAGA. It's the same thing. The Trojan horse is the same thing. They dusted it off for 2024. And people perceive the economy to be bad. And it is bad because if you don't have stocks, it fucking sucks, man. It's not good out here to try and live and make ends meet. And absolutely Biden fumbled the ball on that. So it's I guess I just really bristle at the us versus them. If you're not with me, you're against me. You're wrong and I'm rightness that the left, not the left, that the internet maybe is so obsessed with. And I feel like we saw that on display, sadly, a little bit from Cenk.
Meth heads. That's what we call neighbors here.
But what are you going to do, guys? Hey, if you want to support me and my cause over here on my little show, do that.
Check it out. The Bituation Room.
Only patreon.com/bitu.
She did a pretty good job, honestly. I keep hitting the wrong button. She did a pretty good job. That was good. I'm glad she called him out. Yeah, that's it for me tonight, guys. We started a little bit early, went a little bit later. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. If you want to support the show, especially while we're recovering from the flood, getting through the holidays, we don't have jobs right now because they were destroyed along with where we live. So from Hurricane Helene, do that at coldbeer.fund. There's a bunch of different ways that you can donate and support the show. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. We'll see everybody on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye. Check out the Bituation Room with Francesca.
Douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't
Good night,
have
guys.
the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fork and balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like fool in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped him to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? It's it. Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This is my mom's an alcoholic. Oh, give me a... Oh, my God. Damn it.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
Round 3.
Good night, guys.
Please say it isn't so. Got him